Chapter 739, The Dragon Clan That Followed Suit, 5. Brother, don't be anxious. Lung Ruoxue said helplessly as 2 drops of cold sweat dripped down her forehead. Then, she threw herself into her brother's arms from her grandfather's embrace, making him happy. However, her grandfather, who had yet to hug her enough, was unhappy again. Lung Ruoxue was at a loss, but when she accidentally looked up and saw the teasing look in her grandfather and brother's eyes, she realized she had been bullied by them. They were too evil. Seeing Lung Ruoxue's depressed expression, the grandfather and granddaughter couldn't help but laugh happily. Grandfather, brother, you guys are too bad. Lung Ruoxue pouted and complained unhappily. Everyone laughed. Is it very funny? Lung Ruoxue lightly asked, her beautiful eyes filled with warning. It's not funny. It's not funny at all. Feng De hurriedly said. They were a little too smug. It's not funny, it's really not funny. Cheng Wu and the others also said knowingly. Oh, Miss was probably shy. All of you can advance now, right? Lung Ruoxue sized up Feng De and the rest with her beautiful eyes and changed the topic. Yes. Everyone nodded heavily, the joy on their faces overflowing. The spirit qi in the space was so dense, and they had cultivated for so long. In addition to the acceleration of time, if they still could not advance, then they were too lousy. Since that's the case, then let's quickly advance. Lung Ruoxue urged. She had been waiting for them. Everyone nodded. Then Lung Ruoxue thought for a moment and moved them out of the bracelet. After taking out the bracelet, Lung Ruoxue looked at the surrounding sycamore trees and said to her grandfather, Grandfather, let's advance here. With the protection of the sycamore trees here, it was much safer than any other place outside. No one could enter even if they wanted to. Moreover, this place was big enough for them to advance together. Okay. Lung Qingtian, the filial grandpa, naturally followed whatever his granddaughter said. Lung Ruoxue and the rest summoned their beasts. As there were too many of them, they could only stay in the forest in their transmogrification states. As for Lung Ruoxue and the others, they each found a place to sit. After sitting cross-legged, they began to break through one after another. Not long after, the heaven-earth law arrived one after another and continued for a very long time. Due to the large number of people advancing, the scene of the advancement was incomparably grand. Even the old phoenixes who were used to seeing big scenes were speechless when they saw this dazzling and spectacular scene. After Lung Ruoxue and the others finished their advancement, the beast tide started again. Because the advancement of Lung Ruoxue and the others led to the advancement of their respective beasts, and after the beasts advanced, they started to give back to their masters. So, after a grand banquet of advancement, no matter if it was humans or beasts, all of them were incomparably happy. Among them, Lung Ruoxue obtained the most benefits. Who asked her to have so many beasts? Not only did she advance to become a mystic sovereign, but the beasts also advanced. White Dawn became a level 7 Transcendent Divine Beast. Feng Zhan was a level 6 Transcendent Divine Beast, Mei was a level 5 Transcendent Divine Beast, and Darling was a level 3 Transcendent Divine Beast. All the Silver Wolves and Feng Zhan's clansmen also advanced 1 level each. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. In short, they were all extremely happy. After advancing, everyone had a good celebration. Young Miss, I really didn't expect that I would actually have the chance to advance to become a mystic supremacy in my lifetime. I'm really too happy. At the dining table, Cheng Wu had tears in his eyes as he spoke excitedly. He didn't have much of a background and frequently traveled alone, so had always felt that he was very satisfied to be able to become a mystic sovereign. However, he never imagined that He'd actually encounter a benefactor. After following young Miss, He'd obtained medicinal pills, equipment, and even less to worry about beasts. Otherwise, just these extremely expensive things would make him poor. Alas, no matter how rich a mystic sovereign was, they couldn't afford to spend money on these things. However, he couldn't do without these things. Cheng Wu, now that you are a mystic supremacy, you should know that mystic supremacy is not the end point of cultivation. Therefore, you still have to work hard on cultivating. Empty reminded him. Yes, I know. Chen Wu nodded, his gaze unusually firm. Alright, stop sighing. Today should be a happy day. Lung Ruoxue couldn't take it anymore and said. She didn't like the slightly oppressive atmosphere. Furthermore, she didn't need their gratitude because since she had already acknowledged them, they were her family. Alas. Unfortunately, those old geezers aren't here. Leng Qingtian sighed. If he counted the time, then it had been over a year since Head met those old fellows. Moreover, it seemed like those old fellows had already left their closed-door cultivation when they were in closed-door cultivation. However, when he saw that they were in closed-door cultivation, then they'd gone back into closed-door cultivation. Alas. He didn't know when he would be able to meet them. Grandfather, they are already mystic monarchs. They should come out of seclusion soon to meet us. Lung Ruoxue comforted him. Sighed. Grandfather and the others had been in seclusion for almost a year. Hopefully, Grandfather Lin and the others would come out soon. Otherwise, Grandfather would definitely become a friend-seeking stone. I'm still counting on those few old fellows to fight side by side with me. Lung Qingtian said with a face full of anticipation. He was finally the mystic sovereign. He could also be considered a powerhouse in this boundless heaven continent. Furthermore, Cheng Wu and the rest advanced to become mystic supremacy again. Therefore, he could finally relax completely. Grandfather, that day will come, Lung Ruoxue promised. It's getting late, everyone should rest early. We'll be leaving Phoenix Forest tomorrow. Lung Ruoxue said to everyone. Yes. Everyone nodded. They were almost done eating. After everyone was done eating, Fengda and the others cleaned up a little, then went back to their rooms to rest. The next day, after Lung Ruoxue brought everyone and the members of the Phoenix clan away from the bracelet, she thought for a moment and stored all of the sycamore trees in the Phoenix forest into the bracelet. Before this, the 17th Elder and the other Phoenixes had already moved all of the Phoenix clan's collections into the space and handed them over to Qingju for safekeeping. Chapter 740. The Dragon Clan that followed suit. 6. Lung Ruoxue looked at the barren land in front of her and then looked at the old Phoenixes. She couldn't help but say, let's stay a little longer if you guys can't bear to part with it. Thank you for your understanding, Master. We can go on our way now, Fengzhan said very respectfully. Oh, there was nothing to be reluctant about. To the people of the Phoenix clan, a place with sycamore trees was their home. Therefore, unlike humans, they did not have much attachment to their former residence. Furthermore, they had spent most of their time in the space recently. Therefore, they did not have much feelings for this place. All right, let's go. Lung Ruoxue put the Phoenixes into her bracelet, leaving Feng Wu, her mother, Fengzhan, and Charm with her. After Lung Ruoxue and her group walked out of the Phoenix forest in a grandiose manner, they discovered that there were a few tails following them. Master, it should be the Dragon Clan, Feng Wu said in a low voice. They were all top-notch beasts, and even if the dragon could hide its aura, it wouldn't be easy to hide it from them. However, the dragons following them weren't very strong, and she didn't know any dragons, so she really couldn't tell who was following them. Dragon Clan. Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face was filled with confusion. In her memory, she didn't seem to have any interactions with the dragon race of this world. Why were the dragon race following her? However, she wasn't narcissistic enough to think that the dragon race was attracted by her charisma and wanted to acknowledge her as their master, so they secretly followed her. Thinking up to this point, Lung Ruoxue stopped in her tracks and turned to everyone. I'm tired, let's camp here today. Everyone was stunned. They seemed to have just left the Phoenix forest. How did young Miss get tired so quickly? Moreover, it wasn't even noon yet, so why were they setting up camp? With their speed, if they were to fly, they would be able to reach the nearest city very quickly. Therefore, they couldn't figure out why they were setting up camp here. As for the few dragons secretly following behind them, they completely ignored them. Hence, they naturally couldn't guess what Lung Ruoxue was thinking. What are you standing there for? Hurry up and set up the tent. Lung Ruoxue chuckled as she urged. She realized she was quite happy seeing the confused expression on her subordinate's face. "Miss, it's not noon yet." Fengde couldn't help but remind her. Cold sweat was flowing down his forehead. "I know. You guys set up the tent first, then make lunch, then after that. Naturally, it will be a nap." Lung Ruoxue said her plan without blushing or panting. "All right." Fengde and the others were speechless. However, whatever the miss said was the truth. As a filial subordinate, it was always right to listen to the Mississippi. Everyone moved together. Soon, they set up several tents and started a fire for lunch. The dragons who had been following them were very happy to see them stop. One of the dragons even reported back. "Schwer, are you waiting for food to drop from the sky?" With his divine sense, he could naturally sense the small movements of those dragons. However, they were just a few small dragons and were not worth taking to heart. "Tim waiting for the dragon to drop from the sky. I wonder how the dragon meat tastes?" Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face was filled with curiosity. Fengde and the others finally understood what was going on after overhearing Lung Ruoxue and Empty. After all this time, Miss wanted to catch a dragon. Moreover, she was afraid that those stupid dragons would find it hard to find them, so she specially chose a fixed place to stay. The young miss was too kind. "Miss, do you want me to catch a dragon?" "Well, no, after we try it," Chengwu said softly. The few dragons following them were only level 3 or 4 transcendent divine beast. Therefore, they were more than enough to deal with them. "And okay." Lung Ruoxue nodded in agreement. "Master, you aren't really planning on eating dragon meat, right?" Feng Wu asked somewhat uncertainly. Master was definitely the first person in the Boundless Heaven continent to dare to eat dragon meat. "I do have that idea, but I want dragon blood more," Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Compared to dragon meat, she preferred dragon blood that could be used for refining weapons. "Looks like I can get quite a lot of dragon blood today. Master, leave this small matter to us." Cheng Wu and Song Di looked at each other before saying. After saying that, the two of them quietly sneaked to the side of the few dragons that stayed behind. When they weren't paying attention, they knocked them out and took them away. Bang! Cheng Wu and Song Di casually threw the heavy objects in their hands, causing the dragons to fall to the ground. Luckily, they were not in their strongest state, otherwise, Cheng Wu and Song Di would not have been able to carry them. Not bad, even though it's a bit small. Looking at the unconscious little dragons in front of her, Lung Ruoxue said with dissatisfaction. "Master, even though they're in a semi-formed state now, there's enough dragon blood." Feng Wu observed them for a moment and then told the truth. Bring me dragon blood." Lung Ruoxue took out a pile of white jade porcelain bottles from her ring and handed them to everyone. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Yes. Cheng Wu and the others looked at the hundreds of porcelain bottles in front of them and couldn't help but mourn for these dragons for 3 seconds. Poor dragons. I wonder if the dragon blood on their bodies is enough to fill these bottles. Schwer, I'm afraid the blood on these dragons won't be enough to fill your bottles, right? Empty said everyone's suspicions. Boo-hoo, he felt that even if the blood on these dragons had dried up, they probably wouldn't be able to hold more than half of the bottles. It doesn't matter. If there's a dragon, isn't it going back to look for helpers? In a while, there will even be dragons coming to give me blood drops. Lung Ruoxue said disapprovingly. She had already planned everything in her heart. Hurry up and get their blood. Lung Ruoxue added. Okay. Everyone answered and divided the 3 dragons on the ground. Then, everyone took out a dagger from their rings and stabbed it into their thick skin. Clang! Cheng Wu's dagger broke. Damn it, why is this skin so thick? Cheng Wu was furious. It seemed like ordinary daggers would not work. Thinking of this, he took out a sacred artifact dagger that his miss had given him. Oh, he had never been willing to use this dagger. Today, he was going to test it out with these few dragons. Then he angrily stabbed the dragon's body. Chapter 741, Supreme Siblings, 1. The dagger stabbed into the dragon's body, and dragon blood flowed out along the blade. Cheng Wu saw this and immediately pulled out the saber and placed the small jade bottle in his hand on the wound to generously accept the dragon blood. The others did the same after a while. Ouch! The 3 unconscious dragons, whose bodies had been stabbed into a beehive, finally woke up from the pain. When the 3 dragons opened their eyes and saw the situation in front of them, they were so angry that they almost fainted again. Boo-hoo! Their bodies were tied up like dumplings, and there were many small wounds on their bodies. Moreover, blood was flowing out non-stop. What was even more despicable was that these humans who didn't know life from death actually used the bottle in their hands to take the blood that was flowing out. It was really unbearable. Dragons couldn't bear it. As noble dragons, when had they been humiliated like this by humans? However, they were helpless now. They couldn't do anything to these humans at all and could only let them do whatever they wanted. Boo! They wouldn't die, right? They might not have a high status in the clan, but their will to live was still very strong. Therefore, they didn't want to die. However, according to the blood flow, they would probably die from excessive blood loss even if these humans didn't kill them. Don't be scared. I won't kill you. Lung Ruoxue comforted them with a smile after sensing the fear of the 3 dragons. The words "I'm a good person" were written on her beautiful face. Boo-hoo! A relatively timid dragon cried when it heard Lung Ruoxue's words. Boo! This woman was a demon. Didn't she not kill them for the precious dragon blood on their bodies? They didn't know if crying was contagious. After one dragon cried, the other 2 actually cried bitterly. Boo! They also understood that it wouldn't be so good to live. I already said I won't kill you. Why are you still crying? How dare you follow me like this with your little guts? Lung Ruoxue said speechlessly. Alas! She really didn't know why these cowardly dragons were following her. However, they were a little too timid. You won't kill us, but you will torture us. A dragon whispered bravely. No, it'll just take some blood from time to time, Lung Ruoxue threatened with a smile. Kill us. One of the dragons couldn't take it anymore. Boo! Taking dragon blood alive was more uncomfortable than killing them directly. Moreover, according to this human woman, she wanted to take some blood from time to time. It was really too despicable. The 3 dragons didn't dare to be angry but didn't dare to say anything. Boo! Just give them a quick death. Haven't you heard of a saying, better to die than to live? You can't be so spineless as a dragon. Isn't it just some blood? You can still be reborn if it's gone, but if your lives are gone, you won't be able to live anymore. Lung Ruoxue advised, patiently seeing that a dragon was suicidal. Human, you better let us go. Otherwise, the dragon race won't let you go. At this moment, another dragon reminded as if it was returning to its death. Well, it could also be considered a threat. Is that so? Why won't the dragons let me go? Lung Ruoxue's face was full of curiosity. She had wiped out the entire Phoenix clan, so she naturally didn't care about the dragons. No one on the boundless heaven continent dares to offend the dragon race. Anyone who provokes the might of the dragon race is no longer in this world, the dragon continued. Is that so? In fact, it's not impossible for me to let you go. As long as you tell me why you're following us, I'll let you go. Lung Ruoxue began to state her conditions. Anyway, she had almost obtained the dragon blood from the 3 dragons, so let them go. After all, the dragons were too gluttonous. She didn't want to raise a few idle people just to obtain some blood. That would really be too much of a loss. Moreover, she could go to the dragons at any time if she needed dragon blood. Really? The dragon asked doubtfully, its pitch-black eyes full of disbelief. Of course it's true. I won't lie to beasts. Moreover, you have to spend money to raise me. It's not worth it. Lung Ruoxue said honestly. In fact, we don't know why we're following you. This is an order from the top. We're just running errands. Boo-hoo! Let us go. The dragon pleaded with a bitter face. Lung Ruoxue was a little depressed after hearing what the dragon said. These dragons didn't know why they were following them after all this time. However, several teams of dragons were arranged to look for you. We were only responsible for monitoring outside the Phoenix clan. the dragon continued. Are you sure the order you received was to monitor my tracks? Lung Ruoxue asked uncertainly. Well, could these dragons have mistaken someone? Are you Lung Ruoxue? The dragon asked curiously. It was not sure if these people were their target, but it knew that they were from the Phoenix clan and were humans, so it followed them. Your mission is to follow Lung Ruoxue, Lung Ruoxue asked instead of answering. Well, it seemed that their target was really her, but she had no dealings with the dragons of this world. Why were they following her? Okay. The dragon nodded. Who ordered this? Lung Ruoxue asked again. Of course it's the upper echelons of the dragon race. However, our status in the dragon race is too low, so we don't know who ordered it, the dragon said very honestly. Boo-hoo. Let them go, seeing that it answered every question. It kept praying in its heart. The upper echelons of the dragon race. Lung Ruoxue frowned in thought. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Schwer, when did you offend the dragon race? The little old man asked speechlessly. Alas, this girl's ability to cause trouble was really too great. Moreover, she specialized in provoking people who were not to be trifled with. I don't know. I've never seen the dragons of the boundless heaven continent, Lung Ruoxue said aggrievedly. Master, the dragon race is about 2 days away from here. The 5 heavenly dragon race should be here by the latest if we wait for them here, Feng Wu said after some thought. Oh, then let's wait. Lung Ruoxue's curiosity had been piqued. She didn't understand if she left this place. Otherwise, the dragons would still have to look for her all over the world. See how understanding she was. Chapter 742, Supreme Siblings, 2. Upon hearing this, the 3 dragons understood even without Lung Ruoxue saying it. It seemed like they had collided with their target. Ooh. Their luck was really not ordinary good. However, it was very bad to be caught and bled. In this way, Lung Ruoxue and the others stayed here for the time being. 5 days passed quickly, but the dragons still didn't come. Little dragon, aren't your dragon race's efficiency a little too poor? It's already the 6th day today, why isn't it here yet? If it's not here today, I won't wait anymore. Lung Ruoxue said while leaning in the freak's arms with a grilled golden rabbit leg in her hand. She looked at the 3 dragons in the tent and ate. The 3 dragons that they had thrown into the tent opened their aggrieved eyes and looked at the grilled meat in Lung Ruoxue's hand with incomparable pity. They were so hungry that their saliva was about to drip down. Ooh, these humans were really too despicable. It was fine if they didn't give them anything to eat, but they actually ate such fragrant grilled meat in front of them. They obviously wanted to glutton them to death. At this moment, they only had food in their eyes. As for Lung Ruoxue's words, they automatically ignored them. What fragrant meat! Big brother, let's camp here too. A clear female voice sounded in everyone's ears. Lung Ruoxue raised her beautiful eyes slightly and sized up the group of people walking toward them from the road. She was a little displeased in her heart. These people really didn't know the rules. Didn't they see that there were already people here? They actually came here. One had to know that such behavior was very rude in a world where the strong were respected. However, this group of people was quite strong. Apart from the woman who spoke just now, who was slightly weaker and was only a great mystic, the remaining dozen people were above Mystic Monarch. Moreover, there were actually 3 mystic supremacies in their group. Well, Lung Ruoxue already had an idea in her heart seeing such a lineup, but she didn't know which super family they belonged to. After these people arrived near Lung Ruoxue and the others, they directly set up tents opposite them without even greeting them. I'm sorry. My young miss likes this place. Sorry for disturbing you. A middle-aged man who looked like a leader walked over and said apologetically after setting up the tent. However, Lung Ruoxue and the others ignored him, which couldn't help making him very embarrassed. Young man, do you know what is first come, first served? The bored little old man couldn't help asking. I'm really sorry. My young miss wants to camp here, so, the middle-aged man's face was full of embarrassment, and he stopped mid-sentence. What he didn't say was that his young miss liked this place, and it was already very polite of us not to chase you away. Butler Lu, they came first. You can't chase them away. At this moment, the young lattice voice sounded again. Lung Ruoxue raised her eyes speechlessly when she heard this and looked at the woman who spoke. Well, one shouldn't judge a book by its cover. This woman looked pretty and cute, but why did she say so? Miss, don't worry. I won't do such a thing, Butler Lu hurriedly promised. Old man, stay here with ease. However, don't disturb my young master and young miss. Otherwise, you will definitely regret it. Steward Lu turned his head to the little old man and said with a threatening tone. He turned and returned to his camp after speaking. Damn, which family does this top grade belong to? Feng De couldn't help but grumble. Damn, if it wasn't for Miss Gaze telling them to calm down, he would definitely go up and slap that man a few times. The Lung family. The little old man looked at Lung Ruoxue and said with a spurious smile, his old face full of anticipation for a good show. What a coincidence! Feng De was a little speechless. This world was really too small. However, this was not a big city. Why did the Lung family come here? He couldn't understand. Miss, I don't think these Lung family members are normal. Let's stay away from them. Lu Tao whispered. She hated evil and had a bad impression of these people, so she naturally didn't want her excellent young miss to have anything to do with them. Lu Tao. Wishes are good, but reality is cruel. Even if we want to stay away, I'm afraid they will take the initiative to lean forward, Lung Ruoxue said speechlessly because she had already seen the Lung family's young lady stand up and walk toward them as she spoke. Alas! Lu Tao sighed softly. What should come couldn't be avoided. She also saw the woman walk over. Hello, Lung Rushuan. Your grilled meat smells so good. I want to buy some. Don't worry, I won't treat you badly, Lung Rushuan said very politely after walking to Lung Ruoxue and the others. However, for some reason, everyone felt uncomfortable hearing her words. Tim, sorry, we won't sell these meat. We don't have enough for ourselves. Feng De said reluctantly after receiving Lung Ruoxue's gaze. TL pay 100 purple coins. Sell me a piece. Lung Rushuan said proudly, thinking in her heart. 100 purple coins for a piece of meat should scare them. Their clothes were so ordinary, and there were so many people, their lives would definitely not be easy, so she specially set a price that she thought was very high. I said I'm not selling. Feng De said impatiently. Damn, they wanted to buy their special grilled meat for 100 purple coins. Did they think they were beggars? They didn't lack 100 purple coins. Feng De couldn't read Lung Ruoxuan's mind, so he naturally couldn't hear her thoughts. Otherwise, he would definitely be angered to death because she really treated them as poor paupers. Moreover, she gave them 100 purple coins because she was sure that they lacked money. That's 100 purple coins. I don't know how many pieces of grilled meat I can buy. I only want one piece. Lung Ruoxuan's eyes widened in disbelief. She didn't expect someone to refuse her request. No one had dared to treat her like this since she was young. This couldn't help making her proud heart a little unbearable. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Chapter 743, Supreme Siblings, 3, We don't lack those 100 purple coins. Feng De roared and couldn't help rolling his eyes. Alas! Was this the Lung family's young miss? She really had poor judgment. Then I'll pay 150? Lung Rushuan said after some thought. No, we won't sell even if you offer 5 million. Feng Da's tolerance had already reached its limit, and he directly roared at the top of his lungs. Boo! How can you shout at me? Lung Rushuan sobbed aggrievedly. 2 streams of clear tears flowed down her beautiful face. Seeing this scene, not only was Feng De dumbfounded, even Lung Ruoxue and the others were a little dumbfounded. This woman reigned quite quickly. Moreover, looking at the expression on her face, it was as if they had bullied her. Damn it, how dare you bully my sister? Sure enough, her brother immediately came to her door after hearing Lung Ruoxuan's cry. Me? I didn't. Feng De looked at the young man staring at him angrily and pointed at himself speechlessly. When did he bully his sister? Boo! Even if he looked very honest and easy to bully, he couldn't be wronged like this. Boo! Dewey! I understand you. You didn't bully my sister. Why is she crying so sadly? The young man questioned. Really didn't bully her. I just told her that we want to sell our grilled meat for money. Feng De explained helplessly. Boo! He couldn't be bothered to explain if the person in front of him wasn't from the Lung family. Why not? My sister is willing to buy your grilled meat because she thinks highly of you. Not only can't you take money, but you should also take the initiative to deliver yourself to her door, understand? The young man said matter-of-factly. I don't know. Why is that? Feng De asked foolishly. He realized that his ability to understand seemed to be problematic today because he actually couldn't understand this man's words. Brat, do you know who we are? The young man was a little angry because he felt that this man was pretending to be stupid. I don't know. Who you are has nothing to do with me. Feng De said nonchalantly. So what if they were from the Lung family? They had already given them face once just now. Could it be that they would always accommodate you? Even if they were willing, their young miss would probably not be willing to let them suffer. Moreover, their young miss didn't want to acknowledge them. We are from the Lung family, one of the 3 major families. The young man gritted his teeth and glared at Feng De. Oh, even if you are one of the super families, you can't forcefully buy other people's things. If news of this spreads, the Lung family will lose all their face, Feng De reminded. He had heard the little old man say that the Lung family had very strict requirements for the juniors in the family. We will pay, the young man said with a black face. That's not for sale. If you want to eat meat, there's a small forest not far away. There are many low-level beasts like rabbits and wild boars there. You can hunt them yourself. Feng De reminded kindly. Just want to buy a piece to try. At this moment, Lung Rushuan stopped crying and said pitifully. Boo! At home, she could have whatever she wanted whenever she cried. Why didn't it work here? She couldn't understand. Miss Ling, I said I'm not selling. Go ahead if you want to eat. Don't tell me you can't even hit a few rabbits with so many of you. Feng De rolled his eyes and said irritably. Well, for some reason, he could still explain a little when facing her elder brother. However, he didn't have the slightest patience with this seemingly weak and delicate young lady from the Lung family. Moreover, he was even more annoyed seeing her beautiful eyes brimming with tears because it was too fake. But I want to eat it now, Lung Rushuan said. What she implied was that it was a waste of time to fight now, and she didn't want to wait. Feng De was completely convinced. In fact, he really wanted to say, eat your sister. Boo! He was very sure that he would have attacked long ago if the person in front of him was not from the Lung family. Can sell you this piece of meat, but it will be very expensive. Lu Tao pointed at the fist-sized grilled meat in her hand. It's okay after all. It's more expensive as long as you're willing to sell, Lung Rushuan said nonchalantly. In fact, she didn't know why she wanted to eat their grilled meat so much. Perhaps it was because they were unwilling to sell. Therefore, she had to buy it even more. She was from the noble Lung family, 100,000 purple coins, no bargaining, Li Tao said after some thought. She was still a little regretful after bidding. Wasn't her price too cheap? After all, the other party was a wealthy Lung family. What? You're killing me. How dare you ask for 100,000 purple coins for such a small piece of meat? The young man's eyes widened in disbelief. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. TM a good child. I don't kill people, Li Tao said with a chuckle. She also added in her heart, well, I don't kill people. You want 100,000 for such a small amount of grilled meat, isn't it considered slaughtering? The young man was a little speechless. This should be the most expensive grilled meat he had ever seen. To tell you the truth, you will definitely feel that it's worth a lot after buying this piece of grilled meat. This piece of grilled meat of mine took more than 1,000 seasonings and marinated for a night before it was grilled. It took time and effort, so you will definitely regret it if you can't eat it. However, forget it if you don't have that much money. Lu Tao doubted their lack of money after promoting it and angered this pair of Lung's siblings. Who said we don't have money? The siblings roared in unison. Didn't they know that the Lung family had the most money? Oh, hand over the money and the goods at the same time. Li Tao stretched one hand out in front of the siblings, and the other raised the delicious grilled meat that was still covered in oil. For you, here are 100,000 purple coins. The young man reluctantly took out a transparent white card from his ring and handed it to Lu Tao under his sister's gaze. Lu Tao took the card, glanced at the number inside, and then handed the card to Lung Ruoxue and the grilled meat in her hand to the young man. The siblings walked gloomily back to their camp with a piece of grilled meat worth 100,000 purple coins in each hand. However, their eyes lit up when they tasted the grilled meat, but no one dared to buy it anymore. After all, such a small piece of meat had cost them almost a year's pocket money. Boo! Their hearts were bleeding. Chapter 744, Supreme Siblings. 4. Miss, this pair of siblings might be a little extreme, but they are quite particular. I thought they would snatch it by force. Lu Tao whispered after watching the siblings walk back to their camp. They snatched it for a piece of grilled meat. The mystic supremacies in their team won't let them go even if we don't do anything, Lung Ruoxue said understandingly. The three mystic supremacies didn't look at them when the Lung siblings walked over just now, but she knew that their divine senses had been observing this place. But aren't those two the young masters and young ladies of the Lung family? Li Tao asked in puzzlement, her beautiful face full of question marks. Family honor. The Lung family's upbringing is very strict, so on the surface, the juniors of the Lung family don't dare to snatch things by force with their status. However, it's difficult to say in private, Lung Ruoxue explained lightly. Miss, will they hate us? Li Tao said worriedly. Boo. She was afraid that she would cause trouble for Mississippi. What? Scared? Lung Ruoxue raised her eyebrows and said with some amusement. No, I'm not afraid. We didn't force you. Li Tao said resolutely after some thought. So what if they hate us? If they dare to cause trouble for us, we can just crack them directly. The freak said nonchalantly. Ah. 2 drops of cold sweat dripped down Lung Ruoxue's forehead. Alas, the freak was becoming more and more violent. However, there was indeed nothing to be afraid of in the Lung family. Lung Ruoxue and the others tidied up simply after eating. Then everyone walked into the tents of the 3 little dragons. After entering the tent, Cheng Wu and the others looked at the 3 dragons lying on the ground and asked, Miss, what should we do with these 3 dragons? Oh. Take some more blood and then kill him. Lung Ruoxue smiled evilly to scare him. Just as Lung Ruoxue finished speaking, she saw the fear and tears in the eyes of the 3 little dragons as she wished. This couldn't help boosting her mood. Why did she like to tease these dragons more and more these 2 days? Boo! Don't kill us. The blood on our bodies hasn't grown yet. A dragon said with tears in its eyes. But your dragon race's efficiency is really too slow. You haven't arrived yet, so I can't raise you for nothing, right? Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face was full of helplessness. You don't have to spend money. Well, pay the child support fee, okay? Another dragon said with tears in its eyes. Boo! This demon hadn't given them a meal at all for 6 days. He actually despised them. Was there any justice in this world? Child support fee? Do you have money? Lung Ruoxue's beautiful eyes glittered. Well, it seemed like dragons liked shiny things the most. However, would there be good things in their poor appearance? Money. We don't have money, but we can use something to pay for it. With that, the dragon poured out the treasure it had stored for many years from the storage space in its body. These are your collections? Lung Ruoxue looked at the gold, silver artifacts, and shiny crystals lying on the ground by the silly dragon and was a little speechless. Well, the things this dragon collected were really too tacky. They were either gold or silver, and there were also some gems of all colors that were useless to her. Yes, I've been collecting these for many years, the dragon said gloomily. Boo! Looking at this little demon's expression, it was obviously dissatisfied. However, all its things were here. What should it do? Its blood, its life. How are you going to pay for the child support? Lung Ruoxue turned to the other two dragons with slight disappointment. The other two dragons hurriedly poured out their collections and let their little demons choose. Ooh! It didn't matter if they took these things away as long as they didn't kill them. Lung Ruoxue looked at the trash in front of her with a slight headache and couldn't help but sigh. Alas! These dragons' taste was really too poor. These things could neither concoct pills nor refine artifacts. They were really useless to her. Are these okay? The three dragons looked at each other and asked carefully. Do you want to hear the truth? Lung Ruoxue asked with a light smile. Yes. The three dragons nodded, but then shook their heads violently. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Do you want to hear it or not? Lung Ruoxue teased. Yes. No. The three dragons said in different voices, their opinions a little different. After speaking, they lowered their heads dejectedly. Boo-hoo, ta. Lung Ruoxue and the others laughed happily seeing the pitiful appearance of the three dragons. Bad people. Bad people. A group of bad people. The three dragons were very depressed. Boo. They could finally tell that this little demon just wanted to see them make a fool of themselves. It was really too inhumane. This was a sadistic animal. Miss, the dragons should be here, Feng Wu, who was abnormally sensitive, reminded her softly. She had already sensed the dragons even though they were about 1,000 meters away. Okay, let's go out. Little stupid dragons, I won't make things difficult for you since your clansmen are here. Well, I'll collect your child support fees from your clansmen. Lung Ruoxue said very seriously. She was a good child and would never make things too difficult for these small fries. With that, Lung Ruoxue left the tent with everyone, planning to wait outside for the dragons to arrive. After exiting the tent, they found a random place to sit down and even looked up at the sky from time to time. A moment later, a group of dragons flew over from the north of the sky. The leader of the dragons was huge, covered in golden scales that were golden and bright enough to be a mirror. This dragon was a level 8 transcendent divine beast, and the clansmen that came with it were almost level 8 and 9 transcendent divine beasts. There were nearly 100 dragons in this group. Lung Ruoxue looked at the dragons approaching them and thought to herself, the strength of the dragons should be about the same as the Phoenix clan, but the dragons were 2 times that of the Phoenix clan. It seemed that the dragons could still give birth. The dragons had already descended in front of them while she was letting her imagination run wild. Chapter 745. You infringed on the rights, 1. After the lead golden giant dragon descended, its huge dragon eyes kept looking around, calculating in its heart, why are the Lung family here? Could Lung Ruoxue really be related to the Lung family? Well, it would be a little troublesome if that was the case. One had to know that their emperor had warned the dragon race not to provoke the people of the 3 major super families more than once. Therefore, it couldn't help being a little conflicted when it saw the Lung family present. May I know who you are from the dragon race? A mystic supremacy in the Lung family team asked. Alas, why did they meet the dragon race here? One had to know that the territory of the Phoenix clan was not far away. It was said that the dragon race and the Phoenix clan had no intimate dealings. Could it be that someone in the family was foolish and offended the dragon race, so they came to denounce them? These dragons were obviously here to seek revenge. Thinking of this, his heart sank, and he became more and more worried. If the dragons were really here to seek revenge, just the dozen of them would probably not be enough to fill the gaps between their teeth. Alas! How was this good? Long Hui, the 5th elder of the dragon race, the golden dragon said arrogantly. Then its golden red dragon eyes kept looking at the Lung family and Lung Ruoxue. It was easy to recognize the Lung family's clan emblem on their bodies, but not on some others. Moreover, it could smell the aura of the Phoenix race on those people, so it was very easy to confirm that the other party was its target. Hello, 5th elder. I'm the Lung family's guardian Yin Liang. May I know why 5th elder is here? Yin Liang asked curiously. Guardian Yin, are you together? Long Hui pointed at Lung Ruoxue and the Lung family. Ah. Yin Liang was thinking about how to answer this question, but someone rushed to answer. Of course not. We are the noble Lung family. How can we be together with people of unknown identity? Lung Rushuan interrupted. She even glanced at Lung Ruoxue and the others provocatively. Long Hui was overjoyed when he heard that they were not together. After all, he was unwilling to provoke the Lung family if possible. Miss Xian, you talk too much. Yin Liang said with some displeasure. In his opinion, Lung Ruxuan's behavior just now was really embarrassing for the Lung family. He secretly glanced at Lung Ruoxue and the others while he was at it but found that their expressions were still as usual. Alas! The difference. Among the younger generation of the Lung family, only the young master, Lung Wudi, could do it. There was no other decent one. However, this was also beneficial. At least the young master's status was very stable. Tim just telling the truth, Lung Rushuan whispered aggrievedly. Guardian Yin, I'm here to look for them. Please leave immediately since you're not together. Long Hui pointed at Lung Ruoxue and the others and reminded them. Grandpa Yin, let's go quickly. This place is too dangerous. Lung Rushuan said hurriedly. She was very afraid of these dragons, but she knew that as a member of the Lung family, the dragons would not touch her as long as she didn't anger the dragons. However, she was under a lot of pressure staying by these huge beasts. Therefore, she really wanted to grow a pair of wings and fly far away from here now. Shut up. Yin Liang said resentfully. How could the Lung family be so cowardly? Grandpa Yin, let's leave quickly. Lung Rushuan pleaded again. Boo-hoo. She didn't want to be implicated by others. Those dragons were obviously not to be trifled with. Moreover, the dragon might on their bodies made it difficult for her to breathe. Miss Xian, you're the one who wants to camp here, Yin Liang reminded her. But I don't want to stay here anymore. Let's leave this place quickly, Lung Rushuan said anxiously. She was really afraid that she would become the punching bag of those dragons if she stayed any longer. Guardian Yin, listen to this young lady. You should leave quickly. I have some scores to settle with them, so you should avoid them, Long Hui reminded very kindly. Blades had no eyes. It didn't want to accidentally injure the Lung family, so the best way was to let them leave by themselves. Grandpa Yin, let's go quickly. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and pack up, Lung Rushuan ordered directly. Miss Xian. Yin Liang was a little displeased with Lung Ruxuan's presumption. Guardian Yin, don't forget that I am the young lady of the Lung family. You are just a guardian of the Lung family. The purpose of your trip is to protect us siblings. If anything happens to us, you will be held responsible. Lung Rushuan raised her status as the young lady of the Lung family. Her parents had reminded them repeatedly to listen to the three guardians and not to contradict them before they came, and the siblings had been very respectful to these three along the way. However, it concerned their safety now. Therefore, she couldn't let them do whatever they wanted. She wanted them to know that she was the daughter of the Lung family now, and the others, including the three guardians, were only servants of the Lung family. Let's do as Miss Xian says. Yin Liang said furiously. Then he flicked his sleeves and left while the other two mystic supremacies followed closely behind. Everyone, follow quickly, Lung Rushuan hurriedly shouted to the others when she saw Yin Liang and the others leave first. Then she pulled her elder brother along. After sending the Lung family away, Long Hu's gaze turned to Lung Ruoxue and the others and asked, Are you Lung Ruoxue? Would you believe me if I said no? Lung Ruoxue asked instead of answering. No, Long Hui said confidently. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Then why are you asking? Lung Ruoxue said impatiently. In that case, die. Long Hui was angry, and the consequences were serious. Wait, I don't want to be a fool. You have to tell us why before you kill us, right? Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face was full of question marks. Because you killed Feng Yun, and I'm here to avenge her, Long Hui said with hatred. Feng Yun? Could you be her adulterer? Feng De laughed fearlessly. Chapter 746, You infringed on the rights, too. Shut up. I'm not an adulterer. Long Hui glared at Feng De through gritted teeth. Damn, how did I look like an adulterer? I like Feng Yun. Feng Xian is your child? Feng Wu suddenly asked. That's right. Long Hui said with a face full of hatred. Damn humans, they killed its wife and children. It had to avenge them. Long Hui, don't you know that dragons and phoenixes can't marry each other? Feng Wu said with displeasure. In order to maintain the purity of their bloodline, the members of the Phoenix clan had never married outsiders, especially dragons. So what? We even have a child, Long Hui said provocatively. It would have reunited with the Feng Yun family long ago if it weren't for the broken rules of the Phoenix clan. Therefore, it hated the people of the Phoenix clan a little. Feng Wu was so angry that she couldn't say anything. Dragons were so shameless. Fifth elder of the dragon race, attack since you're here for revenge. Lung Ruoxue didn't want to talk nonsense with them after knowing the answer she wanted and urged bluntly. Lung Ruoxue, die. None of you can run away today. Long Hui said confidently. Yes, that's what I want to say too. I'll let your family reunite, Lung Ruoxue promised. Well, she couldn't stop them since they wanted to take revenge. However, she also didn't want to die, so there could only be one winner among them. Go, kill these humans. Long Hui was furious when he heard Lung Ruoxue's words. Then he ordered his subordinates directly. Yes, fifth elder, the dragons answered loudly. The deafening voice sounded in Lung Ruoxue and the others' ears, making their eardrums hurt. Tish, so what if you have a loud voice? We'll still beat you up badly. You dragons. I'm afraid you won't be able to return. Feng De teased with a chuckle. Miss, should we still contract these dragons? Cheng Wu asked with shining eyes. Well, he already had a phoenix. How awesome would it be if he had another dragon as a contract beast? He thought happily. Anything, sell them if you're not interested. Well, with the strength of these dragons, they should be able to sell for a good price. Lung Ruoxue's beautiful eyes kept looking up and down at the dragons as she spoke, as if she was measuring their true value. Damn it, you're dead meat. A certain dragon was provoked by Lung Ruoxue's gaze and roared uncontrollably. Do it. Remember, don't waste the dragon blood and dragon scales. I'm useful. Lung Ruoxue reminded her before the fight began. Okay. Cheng Wu and the others answered. Then they collectively flashed their beasts with a swish. The appearance of many phoenixes dazzled the huge dragon eyes of the dragons. At the same time, it did not stop them from being dumbfounded. What's going on? These phoenixes look so familiar. The dragons were puzzled. Damn it, how dare you betray Yuna? Long Hui was furious as he looked at the phoenixes that appeared in front of him. Because these phoenixes were Feng Yun's trusted subordinates. It had a close relationship with Feng Yun, so it was very clear about her subordinates. These traitors. Yuna was dead, but they had no backbone to rely on the enemy. It was really too despicable. Unfortunately, Long Hu's words didn't receive any response. In fact, the phoenixes were also aggrieved. After all, they didn't recognize him as their master willingly, but now that the entire Phoenix clan had become his, and they had signed a master-slave contract with these humans, they naturally had to stand on their master's side. Fifth Elder Long, this is called recognizing facts, Lung Ruoxue provoked with a light smile. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and attack. Long Hui was so angry that he was about to vomit blood as he roared at his subordinates. Fifth Elder isn't calm anymore. Cheng Wu said understandingly. Then he gave Feng De and the others a look and attacked first. The two sides quickly engaged in a chaotic battle. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Cheng Wu and the others were agile and kept shuttling between the dragons, so they quickly confused the huge dragons. Well, those dragons were too big, so it was really too easy to attack them. Howl. Who poked my butt? Damn it, you despicable humans. Screams and curses sounded at the same time. Cheng Wu and the others played with these immobile dragons with just a small dagger. At this moment, the dragons really hated their huge bodies. Ooh, they should have shrunk a little if they knew. They originally returned to their largest state mainly to give these humans a psychological threat, but who knew that they actually hindered their movement now? Moreover, they would immediately collide with their companions, but as long as they turned around. In contrast to the depressed dragons, Qingwu and the others were in a very happy mood. Moreover, they hadn't even used their mystic techniques yet. They only stabbed these dragons from time to time, let out some blood, and went for scales. There was no need to mention how satisfying this fight was. Damn it, what are you doing? Long Hui, who was watching the battle by the side, almost vomited blood when he saw the situation in front of him. Alas, weren't these dragons usually quite powerful? Moreover, they could be considered the elites of the clan. Why were they so faulty today? He felt that he had lost all his face. Fifth Elder, this place is too small. We always crash. A dragon that had just been stabbed said aggrievedly. Boo! They were really depressed to death. This was the first time they fought so cowardly after living for so long. Can't you fly? Growing wings is just for fun. Long Hui scolded, and the golden dragon scales were so angry that their color changed a little. The dragons were even more depressed when they heard Long Hui's words. Boo! Did they think they didn't want to fly? These humans were bleeding and removing scales for them while the phoenixes were staring at them from above. And, with several screams, dragon scales that were larger than a wash basin fell to the ground like paper. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue also moved her beasts out of the bracelet. Chapter 747. You infringed on the rights. 3. The transmogrified beasts immediately went straight for the dragon scales as soon as they emerged. Immediately, they saw palm-sized little beasts dragging dragon scales that were dozens of times larger than their bodies, shuttling back and forth between the battlefield and Lung Ruoxue. Lass. They cooperated well. The little old man smiled happily with his eyes curved when he saw this situation. Well, so many dragon scales could refine a lot of equipment. Yes, who will be the fifth elder of the dragon race belong to? Lung Ruoxue looked at the angry Long Hui and asked with a light smile. Of course it's mine. A dragon's skin is so thick and isn't suitable for girls. Therefore you just have to rest by the side. Leave that old dragon to me. Empty said matter-of-factly. A dragon's skin was rough and thick, so it should be more resistant to beatings. All right. Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. Alas. Seeing that Empty was so excited, the battle this time probably had nothing to do with her and the freak. However, such an opportunity should still appear in the future, so she was not very anxious. Tim going. Empty heard Schwer's words and ran to Long Hui without delay, afraid that she would regret it. Then he looked at it provocatively and said, I hope you can take a beating. With that he directly punched at Long Hui, his fist containing light blue mystic energy. When did Empty use his fist? Lung Ruoxue looked at the freak with a face full of question marks. I don't know, the freak replied with a face full of innocence. Ooh, damn Empty, he actually infringed on rights. His fist was his specialty. However, the power of his fist was incomparable. After all, he used darkness attribute mystic energy, and the non-attribute was water attribute. Even though water attribute mystic energy could also attack, the effect was much worse than the dark attribute. While the two of them were chatting, Empty had already beaten Long Hui up badly on the battlefield. Moreover, he kept muttering, a lecherous dragon who doesn't learn to find a female dragon actually seduced a phoenix. Dragon slag, I'll beat you to death. Yes, beat it to death. Feng Wu, who had been watching the commotion, shouted in unison. Then she couldn't help joining the battle. However, she went to scrape Long Hui's scales. Moreover, more than half of the scales on Long Hui's body disappeared in the blink of an eye, and blood kept seeping out of his wounds. Ouch! Long Hui screamed in pain, but it still couldn't stop the scales from abandoning it. It was simply heartbreaking. Feng Miao, is your mother so violent too? Lung Ruoxue, who was not far away, was a little dumbfounded. Well, She had always thought that this was a phoenix with an elegant temperament. She didn't expect her to be so violent. No, my mother rarely gets so excited. I think she slept for too long, that's why she wants to exercise. Cold sweat dripped down Feng Miao's forehead, and she thought, Mother, your image as a virtuous lady is all ruined today. Oh, should I summon those old phoenixes and let them exercise too? Lung Ruoxue murmured to herself. Miss, if the ancestors all come out, then these dragons won't have a way out, Feng Miao said with a face full of black lines. Those ancestors. They were all battle maniacs, so it was better not to let them out for no reason lest they cause trouble. She couldn't help muttering in her heart. However, she didn't dare to say this. Otherwise, if those ancestors who had lived for countless years knew, they would definitely pluck all her hair and cook her up. That's true. Lung Ruoxue nodded and gave up on this idea. Then she toured her gaze to the battlefield. Bang! 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 After a few loud bangs, the dragons reacted like dominoes and overlapped on the ground one after another. Moreover, every dragon was covered in wounds, and more than half of their scales had fallen. Empty, who was beating Long Hui up, turned back to look at the situation behind him when he heard the sound. Then he beat Long Hui up fiercely a few times, and Long Hui, who had no power to fight back, collapsed weakly on the ground. That's it? How useless! Empty kicked Long Hui and said with slight dissatisfaction, Alas! It was really too disappointing. Long Hui, who was lying on the ground with no intact skin and no strength at all, vomited a mouthful of blood in anger after hearing Empty's words. Then he fainted with his eyes wide open. You infringed. The freak said very seriously to Wayless, who had returned to their side but obviously hadn't had enough. Ah! Empty was stunned and speechless. What a waste! What a waste! The little old man said with a face full of pity as he looked at the dragon blood that spurted onto the ground. It's okay. We've already collected a lot of dragon blood today, Lung Ruoxue said nonchalantly. We've profited this time. Lass, what should we do with these dragons? The little old man looked at the dragons on the ground with a headache and thought, these dragons are taking up some space. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. You must have contracted. Lung Ruoxue said and then directly domesticated the dragons lying on the ground. Of course, Long Hui was an exception. She could let these small fries go, but she would not let their heads go. After training Lung Ruoxue, Lung Qingtian and the others each found a relatively pleasing dragon and signed a master-slave contract. After the contract was completed, they each stored them in the beast space. After the dragons on the ground disappeared, their vision became spacious again. As for the unconscious Long Hui, since Lung Ruoxue had decided not to keep it, it naturally became the snacks of the pythons again. This time, it could be considered a family reunion. After settling all this, Lung Ruoxue left with everyone. Lung Ruoxue and the others were sitting on the little peacock's back on the way to the dragon race. Miss, I heard that the dragon race is very rich. Feng De said with a smile. Well, since the dragon race came knocking on their door, of course they couldn't refuse. Feng De, dragons love shiny things the most, but those things are not very useful to us, Lung Ruoxue said very disappointed. In her opinion, the taste of dragons was really too poor. It was fine even if you collected some crystal cores of transcendent divine beasts. At least they contained spiritual energy, but only those good-looking but useless gems. However, those gems might be able to be sold for a price if they were sold. After all, not liking them did not mean that other women did not like them either. Chapter 748, Black Mist Cliff, 1. That's true. Feng De scratched his head shyly. Master, dragons of the dragon race can definitely sell for a good price on the boundless heaven continent, Lin Yuan reminded. Of course. However, we don't lack money now, so it's not too late to sell when we can't take the blame. Feng De patted Lin Yuan's head gently. Everyone chatted and laughed along the way. The dragon race was their destination. The dragon race came knocking on their door. Wouldn't they be wasting the dragon race's good intentions if they didn't accept it? Miss, we can't fly forward anymore, the little peacock suddenly said while flying. What's wrong in front? Why is there so much fog? Lung Ruoxue frowned in puzzlement. Moreover, the fog was grayish-black and poisonous gas filled the air. Master, we should be at Black Mist Cliff, Fengwu said after some thought. Black Mist Cliff was a necessary route to the dragon race, so they had to pass through this place if they wanted to reach the dragon race. Otherwise, they could only return the way they came. Black Mist Cliff? Lung Ruoxue carefully searched for information about this Black Mist Cliff in her mind. Black Mist Cliff could also be considered a strange place on the boundless heaven continent. Below the cliff was a bottomless abyss, and the sky 10,000 meters above the cliff was even suffused with poisonous fog. If one wanted to go north from this Black Mist Cliff, they had to pay a high price. Otherwise, no one could think of going there. It was said that this Black Mist Cliff was the territory of the Black Mist Stronghold. The people of the Black Mist Stronghold were not afraid of these poisonous fog. They would allow others to pass through this place as long as they satisfied their conditions. Otherwise, they could only return home. The origin of this Black Mist Stronghold was very mysterious. No one even remembered when they occupied this place. However, whenever someone wanted to pass through this place, the people from the Black Mist Stronghold would appear and propose conditions. They would send you there safely as long as you could do it. Miss, looks like we have to land, Fengwu whispered. Okay. Lung Ruoxue nodded. Since they were passing by this place, they should do as the Romans do. No antidote pill could be used here. A special herb was needed to dispel the poisonous fog here, and this herb could only grow under the Black Mist Cliff. The little peacock hurriedly descended upon hearing this. Then it panted heavily. Boo! The poisonous fog was so powerful that it found it difficult to breathe from so far away. Miss, what should we do now? Fengwu said with a slight headache. Find the people from the Black Mist Stronghold to bring us there, Lung Ruoxue said after some thought. She didn't know what the price would be, but she didn't want to take the risk before she had absolute confidence in bringing everyone there safely. Moreover, this was a place that had to be passed to go to the north of the boundless heaven continent. Presumably, the people from the Black Mist Stronghold wouldn't propose any too excessive conditions. Otherwise, this Black Mist Stronghold would probably have become the public enemy of the continent long ago. If that was the case, they would probably be unable to be carefree even with these poisonous fog protecting them. Where are the people from Black Mist Stronghold? Everyone jumped down from the little peacock's back, their shrewd eyes searching everywhere. The little old man was calm and looked like he had nothing to do. Well, it was time to test their vision. Lung Ruoxue looked up at the faintly discernible plaque in the gray-black fog not far away and smiled gently. Then she walked to the bottom of the plaque and stretched her hand in. Finally, she found a button on the left wall and pressed it. There's no need to look. I've already contacted them, Lung Ruoxue said with a light smile. Ah. Fengwu and the others were stunned, thinking Miss is so fast. A group of people walked out of the thick fog not long after Fengwu and the others returned to their senses. There were about 10 people in this group, and each of them was above Mystic Sovereign. Moreover, their auras were restrained, and their expressions were calm. It would really be difficult to notice their low profile if they didn't often hide their strength. We want to pass through here, Lung Ruoxue said bluntly after seeing this group. Yes, as long as you can fulfill our conditions, the man leading the group said with a very friendly attitude. Even though these people's strength were all great mystic on the surface, it was suspicious to have so many great mystics gathered together. Moreover, there were crouching tigers and hidden dragons on the boundless heaven continent. Therefore, they would also treat them politely even if the other party was only a small mystic. After all, who knew if they were pretending to be pigs to eat tigers? There were many people who liked to hide their strength in this world. What conditions? Lung Ruoxue asked curiously. There are 2 ways to pass through Black Mist Cliff. The first is to pay, and the other is to complete our mission, the leader said with a smile. It will be 10 million purple coins per person. If you choose to take on missions, you only need to complete 3 of our missions before you will all be able to pass through here safely, the leader added. 10 million? You're robbing money. Feng Da's forehead was full of black lines. He couldn't help shouting. If each person was paid 10 million, the money that Miss had worked hard to save would be reduced by more than 1 billion in an instant. This Black Mist stronghold was really too evil. He originally thought that the Shadow City was already dark enough, but compared to this Black Mist stronghold, it was basically a small house seeing a big house. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Isn't there another choice? The leader said without anger. In fact, he didn't care about Feng Da's reaction at all. He had seen many people after guarding Black Mist stronghold for so many years. There were many people with more intense reactions than Feng Da, so Feng Da's reaction was really nothing. Tell me about your mission too, Lung Ruoxue said after some thought. For some reason, she had a feeling that the Black Mist stronghold collecting money was just a cover for them to complete their mission. Miss, our missions are all here. You can choose 2 from them to complete, and the last is the designated mission. If you complete all 3 missions, not only will you be able to pass Black Mist Cliff safely, you will also become guests of our Black Mist stronghold in the future, the leader explained. Then he took out a beast hide scroll from his ring and handed it to Lung Ruoxue. Chapter 749, Black Mist Cliff 2. Oh. Lung Ruoxue took the hide scroll, opened it, and looked at it. Then she handed the hide scroll to the little old man. The little old man took the hide scroll curiously and browsed through it. After reading, he couldn't help widening his eyes because the difficulty of the mission on it was really abnormally high. Master, what mission? Zheng En asked curiously. Take a look for yourself. The little old man handed the beast hide scroll to his disciple and began to think. In fact, he knew the rules of the Black Mist stronghold. However, he hadn't come here often. Moreover, if he wanted to pass through this place, he would basically have to pay directly. The others who wanted to pass through this place to the north should be similar to him. After all, everyone who could afford to go to the north was not short of money. Therefore, there was naturally no need to waste precious time. Therefore, he really didn't know that the mission of Black Mist stronghold was actually so stringent. Alas, how many people could complete such a mission? It seemed like paying would save a lot of trouble. However, they seemed to have more people. This would cost a lot of money. Thinking of this, his heart ached a little. Zheng En took the mission and looked at it, but his eyebrows were locked tightly, making Feng Da and the others' hearts turn cold, and they were even a little at a loss. You can discuss whether to pay or do the mission, the leader said with a friendly smile. Okay, please wait a moment. Lung Ruoxue communicated via voice transmission. Lass, you have to think carefully. It might be a little too much, but it's not difficult. This mission is really too dangerous, the little old man reminded helplessly. In fact, he knew that Schwer had long decided that the discussion was only for outsiders to see. Grandpa don't worry. I know what I'm doing. In fact, I want to go to the bottom of the cliff to take a look even without this mission. This thick fog is really strange, Lung Ruoxue comforted with a voice transmission. She was originally thinking of ways to go to the bottom of the cliff openly. After all, if she wanted to cure the poison in the thick fog, she had to use a herb here. That herb grew at the bottom of the cliff and happened to be a type of mission, so this mission was the most suitable for her. It's good that you know. The little old man sighed helplessly. Okay. Lung Ruoxue directly said to the man leading the group after communicating with everyone, we don't have money to do missions. Okay. The leading man smiled. In fact, he was very happy. It had been thousands of years. It was really not easy to meet someone who was willing to do missions. There are 2 missions to choose from here, right? Lung Ruoxue pointed at the hide scroll. Okay. The leader nodded. Then I choose these 2. Lung Ruoxue pointed at the last 2 missions on the hide scroll. Are you sure? The leading man looked at the mission and then looked at Lung Ruoxue with slight surprise. He thought to himself, this young girl really impressed him. Because not only were the 2 missions she chose not the easiest among the dozens of missions, they were the 2 with the highest difficulty. In order to complete these 2 missions, strength, guts, and luck were indispensable. Yes, But I want to know, what protection can you provide me if I go down to the bottom of the cliff? Lung Ruoxue asked curiously. If she could go to the bottom of the cliff, the thick fog would be nothing to them, so she felt that these people had to provide them with some antidote pills and the like. Otherwise, they would probably faint from the poison before they could continue waiting. Haha, if you choose other missions, you will definitely have to rely on yourself to complete them. However, these 2 missions, we will provide you with a few antidote pills, but you have to complete the mission in 24 hours. Otherwise, the antidote pills will be ineffective, the leader said with a smile, but he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Well, this girl was really smart. It seemed that not all beautiful women were brainless. When do we begin the mission? Lung Ruoxue asked. Tomorrow morning. You can stay here for the night today and discuss which few people will go down to the bottom of the cliff. After all, we can only provide 5 antidote pills, the leader reminded. Okay. Lung Ruoxue nodded. Do we need to spend money to stay here? Fengde couldn't help asking. Well, these people were too evil. Therefore, it was better to ask clearly. Don't worry. Since you've chosen to do the mission, our Black Mist stronghold won't take a single cent from you. Don't be afraid. The leading man comforted. Orbsref, sayus. Then follow me into the village. The leading man made an inviting gesture and was about to bring Lung Ruoxue and the others in when he was interrupted by an unpleasing voice. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Wait, we want to enter the village too. A delicate shout suddenly sounded in Lung Ruoxue and the others' ears. Do you want to stay too? The leader asked with slight displeasure. In fact, he had just discovered the traces of these people. However, these people seemed to want to fish in troubled waters. Well, this couldn't do. Of course. The person who spoke was a woman who looked to be in her early 20s. She was very beautiful, but her face was full of arrogance and she was looking at the man leading the group with a condescending gaze. Yes, 100 million purple coins per night. The leader said calmly. Upon hearing this, Fengde and the others couldn't help but drip several drops of cold sweat on their foreheads. They thought, this is really extraordinary black. Fortunately, they didn't need their money. Otherwise, the money they had worked so hard to save would probably all be taken advantage of by Black Mist Stronghold. What? You're ripping us off. Why can they not charge us 100 million purple coins each? The young woman said with displeasure, her beautiful face a little deformed from anger. This is the rule of our Black Mist Stronghold. If you want to go directly, you just have to pay 10 million for each person's travel expenses. If you want to stay in the inn, of course, you have to pay 10 times the price. Of course, you can also do missions if you don't have money. Moreover, once you choose a mission, food and lodging are all free. You can discuss it. Our Black Mist Stronghold is famous for being honest with everyone, the leader said good-naturedly. Chapter 750, Black Mist Cliff 3. Miss, let's pay and go home quickly. Old Master is still waiting at home. The guard beside the young woman reminded softly. No, how can we be looked down upon? The young woman said indignantly. Why could others stay for free while they had to pay? This was too unfair. So Miss chose to do the mission, the leading man said understandingly, but he couldn't help sighing in his heart. Alas, what an ignorant young lady. To want to choose the same mission as them. The young woman pointed at Lung Ruoxue and said with a face full of jealousy. How can this woman be so beautiful? She's really infuriating. Miss, the guard beside the young woman wanted to stop her, but the words he was about to say were scared away by the woman's gaze. Are you sure? Miss, don't blame me for not reminding you. The mission they chose is very dangerous. If they can't complete it, they will probably stay inside forever, the leading man said very implicitly. Well, he didn't think highly of the team later. How can a mighty mystic monarch like me not dare to accept a mission that even a great mystic dares to accept? Moreover, if there's really danger, they will probably be the ones to die. We definitely won't die, the young woman said confidently. However, her words angered Fengde and the others. Damn, this woman looked decent, but why was her words so vicious? Lung Ruoxue stopped them with a look when she saw Feng De and the others rubbing their palms together, wanting to attack. It was not that she did not want to teach this woman a lesson, but she felt that there was really no need to waste time on such a woman. These people would probably not survive until they reached the bottom of the cliff. Come in with me. The man leading the group looked at Lung Ruoxue and the others mysteriously and said to the two groups of people. Then he led his subordinates in front to lead the way. After passing through the thick fog, Lung Ruoxue and the others' vision became clearer. Moreover, there was actually a completely different world behind the thick fog, and the scenery inside was even more beautiful. This place is so beautiful, the young woman exclaimed as if she was ignorant. This is the only place on Black Mist Cliff where outsiders can stay. At the same time, it might be the last place you will live in this life, the leader said with a light smile. What do you mean? The young woman asked in puzzlement. Didn't I say that we have to stay here if the mission fails? In layman's terms, the outcome of the mission failure is only death. The leading man said. What? The young woman was a little dumbfounded. She didn't expect to die if she didn't complete the mission. Miss, let's pay and leave this place. I keep feeling that this place is strange, the guard beside the woman advised again. It's too late to pay now. Since you've chosen the mission, you can only complete it. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave this place, the man leading the team interrupted gloatingly. Alas, he had reminded this woman long ago, but she refused to listen and insisted on doing a mission like him. It was really hopeless. Miss, what should we do? The guard said with a pale face. He had heard of the mystery of Black Mist Stronghold, so he was really a little afraid. To complete the mission, of course, the young woman said with a slight headache. Alas, she knew that she was a little impulsive, but she just didn't like that woman. Moreover, she didn't believe that she, a mighty mystic monarch, wouldn't be able to complete a mission that even a great mystic dared to accept. Moreover, she had so many guards by her side. She couldn't help becoming confident with this in mind. Miss, old master is still waiting for you at home, the guard reminded softly. What's the use of saying this now? Can we leave without completing the mission after coming in? The young woman roared furiously. Yes, that's right. Therefore, stay here and do the mission with ease. The man leading the team said happily. No one had been willing to do the mission for thousands of years. Two groups actually came today. One was only to make up the numbers, but it was better than none. Therefore, he was very satisfied today. With that, the man in the lead got someone to arrange residences for Lung Ruoxue and the woman, and then he went about his business. Lung Ruoxue and the others lived in an independent yard that was planted with unknown bright red flowers. Moreover, they were the only house in the huge place. They didn't know where the woman had been arranged to. Schwer, I have a question that I don't understand, Lung Qingtian said with a face full of question marks after casually finding a place to sit down in the yard. Grandpa, what problem? Lung Ruoxue asked in puzzlement. Schwer, isn't there poison in the fog of Black Mist Cliff? Why didn't we feel anything when we walked in? Lung Qingtian was very puzzled. They had passed through a thick fog when they entered Black Mist Stronghold, but they didn't feel any discomfort. What was going on? If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Grandpa, we were brought in by the people from the Black Mist Stronghold. If something happens to us, won't the reputation of the Black Mist Stronghold be ruined? Moreover, I think they should have something that can avoid poison, Lung Ruoxue analyzed. In fact, any medicine had something that complemented and restrained it, like the 10,000 root grass at the bottom of the cliff. However, the 10,000 root grass had to be refined into a pill to restrain this poisonous fog, so the people from the Black Mist Stronghold should have other ways to avoid these poisons. Yes, that makes sense. Lung Qingtian nodded. Miss, that woman was too uncouth just now. She's really annoying, she actually snatched the mission from us, Cui Zhu said indignantly, her cute little face bulging with anger. So be it. We're not the only ones who can do missions. Lung Ruoxue gently pinched Cui Zhu's face and said nonchalantly, The 2 missions she chose were the most difficult among all the missions. Even she didn't dare to say that she was absolutely confident that she could complete them before she descended to the bottom of the cliff. Moreover, that woman didn't even know what the missions were. Wouldn't she be courting death if she wanted to snatch them from her? However, she didn't have any sympathy for such a woman with poor judgment. Chapter 751, Black Mist Cliff, 4. Lass, if I'm not mistaken, that woman should be a young lady from the Sun family, the little old man said after some thought. He had unintentionally discovered the Sun family's emblem on a guard just now. Miss, I heard a year ago that there was another genius after the Sun family's young master, Sun Teng. She advanced to Mystic Monarch at the age of 22. If she's the Sun family's young miss, then the new genius of the Sun family should be her, Cheng Wu said after some thought. Back then, when they quietly followed their young miss, they had collected a lot of news from the various families. Therefore, after hearing the little old man's words, he combined his intelligence and easily guessed the woman's identity. Well, if it weren't for the young miss and the others, advancing to Mystic Monarch at the age of 22 could indeed be considered a genius. Moreover, she was a woman, so this was even more precious. After all, there were really too few female powerhouses in this world. Oh, Lung Ruoxue answered lightly, obviously not too interested in the woman's identity. Shuer, let's discuss who will go down the cliff with you tomorrow. Empty reminded her. I definitely want to go down with Shuer, the freak said before anyone else could say anything. Want to go down too? Feng Wu looked at everyone and said resolutely. Well, she believed that she had an obvious advantage over these people. Feng Da and the others looked at each other, and no one said anything, boo-hoo. They also wanted to accompany Miss down the cliff, but there were really too many perverts around Miss, and they actually couldn't compete. Miss, bring me, Cheng Wu said. He was already a mystic supremacy now, but he still had his fighting spirit. Stop arguing. The freak, Empty, Grandpa Du, Feng Wu and I will go. Stay in the space. Lung Ruoxue said resolutely after some thought. Woman, you can't leave me behind. Little Flame, which had been pretending to be a bracelet, couldn't take it anymore seeing that Lung Ruoxue didn't mention it. It was a born king of great poison. It had to go down and take a look because it could already feel that there seemed to be a lot of poisonous things down there. This was absolutely a huge challenge for it and also a great supplement, so how could it let go of such a good opportunity? But there are only 5 antidote pills. Lung Ruoxue was in a dilemma. Little Flame's poison was very powerful, but she didn't know if Little Flame could withstand the poison under the cliff. Moreover, being nourished by the poisonous fog, there must be a lot of poisonous things growing below. This strong dragon couldn't suppress the local snake, so she really didn't think much of Little Flame. After all, other than poison, Little Flame didn't have much attack. Woman, I don't need antidote pills, Little Flame said proudly. As a spirit poison nurtured by heaven and earth, its status was countless times higher than those poisonous creatures below the cliff. Therefore, this poisonous fog might be very powerful, but it couldn't hurt it. Moreover, its goal was the poisonous creatures living in the bottomless abyss. Its current strength was too low, and it needed those nutrients to improve itself. Little Flame, aren't you afraid of this poisonous fog? Lung Ruoxue said in surprise. Well, Little Flame's resistance to poison was really extraordinary. No, these poisonous fog contain a trace of spiritual energy, which is also beneficial to me, Little Flame explained. Oh, then go down with us tomorrow. Lung Ruoxue was relieved. Yes. Little Flame nodded vigorously and then found a spacious place to cultivate. Let's rest early today. We still have to do missions tomorrow, Lung Ruoxue said to everyone as she looked at Little Flame that coiled up. Okay. Everyone nodded and then found a room to rest at the same time. The man who brought Lung Ruoxue and the others in just now came to the back mountain of the entire Black Mist Cliff. The man came to the back mountain and made a few hand seals in the void. A door automatically opened in the empty back mountain, and the man walked in directly after entering. The man strode to a hall. At this moment, there were 3 people sitting in the hall, 2 men and 1 woman. Their eyes couldn't help widening when they saw him. Xiao Fan, you should be on duty today, the only woman reminded him teasingly when she saw him. I came to tell you that someone wants to do missions. Moreover, they chose the two most difficult missions. Xiao Fan smiled proudly. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Really? The three of them stood up from their chairs in surprise when they heard this. Their faces were full of disbelief. They knew the difficulty of the mission very well, so not many people dared to choose to do the mission after so many years. However, they didn't expect someone to do the mission today. Would I lie to you? Moreover, it's not just one team. However, the other team is just for show. The chance of failure is very high, Xiao Fan said after some thought. What's going on? The three of them were a little puzzled. They were all looking forward to success since someone was willing to do the mission. However, Xiao Fan's reaction was really strange. Look at it yourself. Xiao Fan said and waved his hand gently. A light curtain appeared in front of the other three people, and what happened in front of Black Mist Cliff just now appeared in front of them. Which family does that woman belong to? She's really courting death, the woman said with disdain on her beautiful face. That woman is Sun mating from the Sun family, which is the new genius of the Sun family. Well, as for the other one, guess. Xiao Fan kept them in suspense. Say it if you have something to say. Spit it out if you have something to say, the woman roared, very displeased. Baishi, you're really too crude. Alas. You're a woman. How can you marry in the future like this? Xiao Fan said worriedly. TM not getting married. Tell me quickly. Stop keeping me in suspense. Baishi roared furiously and raised her fist threateningly. Don't scare me. I'm scared. The other woman is Lung Ruoxue. Xiao Fan said honestly. Boo. What a terrifying violent woman. Yet he couldn't beat her. The Lung Ruoxue who destroyed the Wu family and dealt with Feng Yun? Baixi's eyes lit up. Hee, she was just looking for an opportunity to meet this Lung Ruoxue. She didn't expect her to deliver herself to her door. This would be a great opportunity. Chapter 752, The Cliff Mission, 1, Yes. Xiao Fan nodded. Are you sure? Baishi asked uncertainly. Do you doubt my intelligence network? Xiao Fan was very angry that someone questioned his ability. Therefore, he had to pretend not to know anything else about Lung Ruoxue. Tim, afraid you got the wrong person, Baishi said honestly. Well, she was only interested in Lung Ruoxue. She would be angry if Xiao Fan got the wrong person. TM sure she is Lung Ruoxue? Xiao Fan said confidently. Oh, when will they begin the mission? Baishi asked curiously. Tomorrow. Xiao Fan replied. Then I have to see her tomorrow. After all, it's not easy to have a woman that I like, Baishi said after some thought. I'll admit that Lung Ruoxue is very beautiful, but you're not a man. Why are you so interested in her? Xiao Fan asked in puzzlement. Well, he thought that Baishi was interested in Hong Ying. Who knew that she would actually be interested in a woman? Who said I can't be interested in her? You men. Your brains are always full of nonsense. I only admire her purely. It's not what you think, Baishi said with a face full of disdain. I didn't do anything? Xiao Fan was very aggrieved. Boo. He really didn't. He was just a little curious. Not all men have such thoughts, so don't compare us, a handsome man said while adding insult to injury. Boo. You're bullying me. Hong Ying looked at the man who spoke and said pitifully. There was really no justice in this world. The three of them were bullying him. Hong Ying might not have said anything, but he knew that that fellow was in the same pants as them. When did we bully you? Baishi asked in puzzlement. You do. Boo. I'm a disadvantaged group. I want to seek support. I want to look for Lung Ruoxue, Xiao Fan said half-truthfully. Idiot. Baixi's pink lips spat out softly. Ah. Xiao Fan was depressed. He was actually being treated as an idiot. Boo-hoo. All right, are you done? Hong Ying, who had been pretending to drink tea but was actually watching the commotion, said. That's enough. The three of them became well-behaved after hearing what Hong Ying said. They found a chair and sat down obediently. What are your plans for tomorrow's mission? Hong Ying looked at the three people in front of him and asked lightly. Big brother, Sun Meiting definitely won't be able to complete the mission tomorrow, so we don't have to count on her, Xiao Fan said bluntly. Oh, do you think so highly of Lung Ruoxue? Hong Ying said in surprise. He knew that Lung Ruoxue had some strength, but the difficulty of the mission was really too high, so he didn't have the intention to definitely complete it. Okay. Xiao Fan nodded. In fact, he didn't know why he was so confident in Lung Ruoxue, but he had a feeling that Lung Ruoxue would definitely succeed. What do you think? Hong Ying turned his gaze to the other two. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Won't we know tomorrow? Why think so much? Chao Yi, who was stared at by Hong Ying, said uncomfortably. Well, Big Brother's gaze was still so oppressive. Of course I hope Lung Ruoxue can succeed. However, don't forget that the last mission is the most difficult compared to these two missions. It will probably be very difficult for anyone to complete that mission in this world, Bai Shi said worriedly. How will we know if we don't try? Hong Ying said with a deep gaze. Big brother, will you kill Lung Ruoxue if you can't complete the last mission? Bai Shi couldn't help asking curiously. Want you know then? Hong Ying actually kept him in suspense. Then he said, if the first two missions fail, they probably won't survive without me killing them. That's true, Bai Shi said after some thought. Alas, if she couldn't even complete the first two missions, there would naturally be no third mission, so her worries were really a little unnecessary. Xiao Fan, send someone to the Sun family to send a message to Sun Meiting. Hong Ying ordered coldly. Okay. Xiao Fan nodded. The news that Hong Ying mentioned was naturally news of death, because Sun Meiting was already a dead person in their hearts. Let's send them off tomorrow, Hong Ying said. Okay. The three of them nodded. After that, the four of them discussed some details and left alone. The next morning, Lung Ruoxue and the others saw Xiao Fan standing in the yard waiting for them as soon as they walked out of the room. However, his gaze was fixed on Fiery, who was lying on the stone table cultivating. Xiao Fan looked up at them in surprise after sensing the auras of Lung Ruoxue and the others. Why are there only the five of you? Where are the others? Only the five of us went down the cliff. The others didn't go, so they stayed in their rooms to cultivate, hoping that no one would disturb them, Lung Ruoxue explained lightly. Oh, don't worry, it's very quiet here. My subordinates won't barge in without your summons, Xiao Fan promised. By the way, I didn't introduce myself yesterday. I'm Xiao Fan, the fourth butler of Black Mist Village, Xiao Fan added. TM Lung Ruoxue. They are my family, Lung Ruoxue said politely. She didn't intend to introduce anyone else but herself. Okay, please follow me. Xiao Fan nodded and then left with Lung Ruoxue and the others. Lung Ruoxue and the others followed Xiao Fan to the edge of a cliff. The cliff that was not very spacious at this time was already full of people. There were a few people they had not seen before other than Sun Meiting and the others they saw yesterday. However, the aura on their bodies was identical to Xiao Fan's. You came so late even though you knew you were going to do a mission today, wasting our time. Sun Meiting took the lead to launch an attack before Lung Ruoxue and the others approached. Why couldn't they do the mission first without this woman? She was really about to die of anger thinking of this. Chapter 753, The Cliff Mission 2. Unfortunately, her provocation didn't receive a response from Lung Ruoxue and the others because in their eyes, Sun Meiting was similar to a dead person. Who would waste time on a person who was about to die? Especially when she was courting death. Hey, you're too rude. I'm talking to you. How dare you not answer me? Sun Meiting roared furiously. Miss Sun, who said that we have to answer you if you talk to us? Moreover, we each do our own missions. If you can't wait, go down first. I don't want you to wait, Lung Ruoxue said speechlessly, but she couldn't help but grumble in her heart. She really didn't know how the Sun family educated their juniors. Why were they all so annoying? Do you think I want to wait for you? They were the ones who asked me to wait. Sun Meiting pointed at the two men and one woman standing quietly beside her. Oh! Lung Ruoxue raised her beautiful eyes to size up the two men and one woman not far away. These three people were very outstanding in appearance, and their temperament was very similar to Xiao Fan's. Therefore, if she was not mistaken, these three people should be the other three butlers of the Black Mist Village. She didn't expect them to take this mission so seriously. The four butlers were actually all here. At this moment, Hong Ying and the others were also looking at Lung Ruoxue and the others. However, the more they looked, the more surprised they were because they actually couldn't see the true strength of these five people with unknown means. The five of them were great mystics on the surface, but they wouldn't believe that a great mystic could deal with Feng Yun even if they were beaten to death. Everyone is here now. The mission can begin. Sun Meiting, who was waiting impatiently, urged. Miss Sun, are you in such a hurry to die? Bai Shi said speechlessly. Alas! The ignorant were unafraid. She felt some pity for Sun Meiting. Damn it, who are you talking about? They're not even afraid of a few great mystics. What's there to be afraid of as a mystic monarch? Sun Meiting roared angrily. Miss Sun, your courage is commendable, but we have to say the ugly things first, Bai Shi said with a smile. Tell us quickly. We're in a hurry, Sun Meiting said anxiously. Miss Sun, do you know what the mission is? Lung Ruoxue suddenly asked curiously. I can do any mission as long as you can do it, Sun Meiting said confidently. Oh, that's good. Lung Ruoxue was a little speechless. Mrs., these are antidote pills. Eat them first. Bai Shi handed each of them 5 black pills and reminded them. Lung Ruoxue took the pills and distributed them to the freak and the others before taking them herself. Sun Meiting mimicked Lung Ruoxue and distributed the pills. Miss Sun, aren't you going to leave one for your beast? Bai Shi asked with a naughty smile. Why should we give it to a beast? It doesn't need to do missions, Sun Meiting said nonchalantly. But the beasts have to carry you to the bottom of the cliff. What if your beasts are poisoned on the way? At that time, Bai Shi reminded, but she only spoke halfway, leaving everyone with imagination. We have to go to the bottom of the cliff for our mission? Sun Meiting's expression changed as she said anxiously. Boo-hoo! She knew that she couldn't enter the bottomless abyss casually no matter how ignorant she was. Legend had it that the bottom was the heaven for poisonous creatures. Anyone who went down would definitely die. Of course. Bikes' smile was very bright. Damn it, did you know all along? You deliberately didn't say it because you wanted us to accompany you to your deaths? You're really too devious. Sun Meiting pointed at Lung Ruoxue and complained resentfully, her fierce gaze seeming like she wanted to eat her up. Miss Sum, did you lose your memory? I didn't ask you to take on this mission. Lung Ruoxue couldn't help rolling her eyes and said speechlessly. Alas! There were really all sorts of birds in the forest. It was obviously her fault, but she insisted on blaming others. Miss Sun, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't spout nonsense. You were the one who accepted this mission. What does it have to do with my master? Feng Wu said mockingly. But I don't know that I have to go to the bottom of the cliff. I've decided not to do this mission now, Sun Meiting said after some thought. Boo! She was really a little scared when she heard that she was going to the bottom of the cliff, so she would rather play dirty than do this so-called mission. Moreover, she believed that with her status, these people would definitely not dare to make things difficult for her if she was unwilling to do it. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Miss Sun, what do you think our Black Mist stronghold is? How can we let you have your way? I already said yesterday that we have to complete it since we accepted the mission. Otherwise, the consequences are not something you can bear, Xiao Fan said with slight displeasure. How dare you? I'm the most favored young lady of the Sun family. Sun Meiting said arrogantly. Obviously, she didn't take Xiao Fan's threat seriously. The Sun family? Who does the Sun family think they are? Even if you are the patriarch of the Sun family, you have to do the mission for me, let alone being the young lady of the Sun family, Xiao Fan said with disdain. Black Mist Village had always been very low-key, but at times he didn't mind letting others understand their true strength. Miss Sun, in our Black Mist stronghold, everything has to follow our rules, Baishi said with a light smile. Miss Sun, you can choose not to do the mission, Chao Yi reminded her. Really? I won't do it then, Sun Meiting said hurriedly. Okay, then die now. Chao Yi said emotionlessly and raised his right hand. Wait, Illinois do it. Sun Meiting had no choice but to compromise when she saw the red mystic energy gathering in Chao Yi's palm. Boo! She didn't want to die. She still had a bright future. How could she die in this lousy place? Miss, it's very dangerous down there. Well, definitely die if we go, the guard beside Sun Meiting reminded her anxiously. Boo! They were killed by this willful miss. Do you think I want to go? But if we don't go down, they will kill us now. If we go, we might be able to complete the mission. Moreover, the few great mystics are not afraid of death. What are we afraid of? If someone really dies, there will still be those people to cover us. Sun Meiting whispered to her subordinates. This idea had already taken shape in her mind after she felt the threat of that man. In short, she had to live. Chapter 754. The Cliff Mission, 3. But the guard was a little uneasy but couldn't say why. But what? Do you have a better way? Sun Meiting glared and questioned softly. No. The guard stopped talking. Then do as I say, Sun Meiting ordered. Even though Sun Meiting communicated with her subordinates softly, how could she hide it from everyone present? Schwer, looks like we were schemed against. Empty said excitedly. Hee, we were schemed against. He liked to be schemed against now. Okay. Lung Ruoxue nodded. Alas. She couldn't understand. Could it be that the words "I'm easy to bully" were written on their faces? Otherwise, why did people always treat them as soft persimmons? In fact, they were very toothless. Are you ready? Tell me your last words. Honging said. We don't have any last words, Lung Ruoxue said calmly. Why do you want my last words? Sun Meiting said with some displeasure, feeling even angrier. Damn it, these people were already cursing them before they even went down. How ridiculous. In that case, your mission can begin, Honging reminded. Miss Sun, I still suggest you give one antidote pill to your beast. Baishi said very kindly. Know my limits. You don't have to meddle, Sun Meiting said irritably. All right, consider me meddlesome as long as Miss Sun doesn't regret it, Baishi said nonchalantly. Actually, she had long known that Sun Meiting wouldn't appreciate it, but she was kind. She still had to remind her. That's my business too. Didn't they also not give their contract beasts antidote pills? Why don't you remind them? Sun Meiting said indignantly. In her opinion, the reason this woman reminded her was obviously to see her embarrassed, so she wouldn't be fooled. I don't need to remind you. Baishi looked at Feng Wu and smiled. Then we don't need it either, Sun Meiting said furiously. Then she summoned her flying beast, ordered her subordinates to sit up, and gave Lung Ruoxue and the others a provocative look. After that, she ordered her flying beast to carry them down the bottomless abyss. Oh, Miss Sun is really impatient. I'm not done talking yet, Baishi said with slight regret. Then she toured to Lung Ruoxue and the others and said, there are still many good things below the cliff even though it's dangerous. That's the reward for your mission this time. However, how much you can obtain will depend on your ability. Thank you for the reminder. Feng Wu, take us down. Lung Ruoxue thanked Baishi and then said to Feng Wu, Yes, master. Feng Wu transformed back into her original form. Lung Ruoxue and the others jumped onto Feng Wu's back, and Feng Wu flew them down the abyss. Oh, it's so hot. As soon as the phoenix with flames flew away, Whitey couldn't take it anymore and directly released a large amount of water attribute mystic energy to lower the temperature here. It seems like the entire Phoenix clan belongs to Lung Ruoxue now, Honging said thoughtfully. Well, that little girl was really not simple. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. How do you know? Bai Shi asked in puzzlement. Teach, there's no need to ask. Feng Wu is the patriarch of the Phoenix clan. Since she has woken up, that means she has recognized you as her master. Xiao Fan said understandingly. He had read through all the information related to Leng Ruoxue yesterday after knowing her identity, so he more or less understood the people around her. Why didn't you mention these things yesterday? Bai Shi said angrily. Xiao Fan was in charge of intelligence, but he actually didn't report such a big matter to them. It was too much. You didn't ask. Xiao Fan slipped away after speaking. Damn it, stop right there. Bai Shi hurriedly chased after him. Hong Ying and Chao Yi quickly transformed into a ray of light and disappeared. Leng Ruoxue and the others felt that their vision was becoming more and more blurry as they flew down the cliff. Moreover, the lower they flew, the darker it became, the thicker the poisonous fog in the air, and the temperature was so low that they could freeze to death. However, the flames on Feng Wu's body dispelled a lot of the coldness for them. As for Sun Meiting and the others, they were not so lucky. The beast could not fly down when they were halfway there. Moreover, the beast could not withstand the poison and fainted, and the person on its back naturally fell directly from the sky. Schwer, did you hear anything? Empty, who was lying comfortably on Feng Wu's back, asked with a naughty smile on his handsome face. Wind. Leng Ruoxue said nonchalantly. Feng Wu's flying speed was obviously much faster after setting up an enchantment. She believed that they would reach the bottom of the cliff safely before long. No. I guess Sun Mating flew down by herself because she found her beasts too slow, Empty said understandingly. They just fell down. What's the big deal? This is within expectations, Leng Ruoxue said very calmly. The more they went down, the more poisonous the air became. The poor beast would not be able to fly to the bottom of the cliff without antidote pills. Bang! 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 Several loud bangs sounded from below the cliff just as Leng Ruoxue finished speaking. Well, they're pretty fast. They're already here, Leng Ruoxue gloated. From the sound of it, they must have suffered a serious fall. She didn't know if they still had the ability to complete this mission. It seemed like Sun Meiting and the others hadn't asked what the mission was yet. Master, we're here too, Feng Wu said helplessly. Boo! Someone arrived at the bottom of the cliff before it did. It was so big. Be careful, everyone, Leng Ruoxue reminded them. She then jumped off Feng Wu's back and looked around well. It was pitch black at the bottom of the cliff, and they couldn't see their fingers if they stretched out their hands. However, there were countless green lights staring at them intently in the darkness. Leng Ruoxue didn't have to guess to know that they had already become the food on the plate of the poisonous creatures at the bottom of the cliff. However, it was difficult to say who would eat who because she already felt Little Fire's excitement. Chapter 755. The Cliff Mission 4. Woman, there's so much food. Little Flame waved its little tail excitedly on Leng Ruoxue's wrist and said impatiently, Little Flame, don't be too excited. We are also their food, Leng Ruoxue reminded. Yes, I know. Woman, there are a few here that I can't beat. You have to help me, Little Flame pleaded with a fawning face. Okay. Leng Ruoxue had always been protective of her loved ones, so she naturally wouldn't side with outsiders. Moreover, it was too dark here, and she didn't like it. Thinking of this, she directly used the light attribute mystic technique Boundless Light. In an instant, the originally pitch-black bottom of the cliff lit up like daytime, and the true appearance of this abyss was truly revealed in front of them. Lass, there are so many precious herbs here, the little old man exclaimed when he saw the scene in front of him. Okay. Leng Ruoxue nodded. After the bottom of the cliff lit up, they saw flowers and various herbs as far as the eye could see. Moreover, the poisonous creatures that were eyeing them covetously just now had all hidden away. It seemed like those things didn't like the day. Woman, my food is missing, Little Flame said gloomily with tears in its eyes. Don't worry. They will come out again, Leng Ruoxue promised, but she couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Alas! The bottom of the cliff in front of her was beautiful. Unfortunately, it was all used to confuse people because every flower and grass here were poisonous. Yes, I have to force them out. Little Flame opened its little mouth to absorb the spiritual energy here. After speaking, Little Flame was busy absorbing the spiritual energy with poison, while Lung Ruoxue carefully searched for her target. 10,000 root grass. This grass might have a very ordinary name, but 10,000 root grass was very rare, and 10,000 root grass was also one of her missions. Lass, I don't think there's anyone nearby. The little old man and the others were also helping to search, but they didn't find the target beside them. Okay, Grandpa Du, let's go take a look over there. Lung Ruoxue pointed to her left. Okay. Everyone nodded and walked to the left together. The bottom of Black Mist Cliff was wide. Lung Ruoxue and the others walked around the bottom of the cliff for about 4 hours and only walked a third of the way. However, they gained a lot. Not only did they find more than 10,000 stalks of grass, they also collected a lot of other herbs. Schwer, let's rest over there. The freak pointed at a huge rock. Okay. Everyone nodded and then sat down on the huge rock. Lass, this bottom of the cliff is really big. We've walked for so long, but we haven't finished yet, the little old man said in amazement. Yes. Grandpa Du, we need to find 15 herbs for the first mission, but we only found 5. Alas. There's still more to find. Lung Ruoxue sighed softly and said helplessly. There were many herbs under the cliff, but what was needed for the mission was very rare. Lass, the herbs here are all poisonous. What a pity, the little old man said with some heartache. There was no way to refine normal pills if the herbs were tainted with poison. It's okay. It can be refined into poison. Lung Ruoxue said with a light smile. Lass, you're an alchemist. I've never seen an alchemist as passionate about refining poison as you. The little old man said with a doting face. Grandpa Du, there's nothing wrong with poison. It can save lives at critical moments. Lung Ruoxue said nonchalantly. That's true, the little old man said after some thought. Empty, what are you thinking? Why are you smiling so cunningly? Lung Ruoxue unintentionally turned her head and couldn't help asking curiously when she realized that Empty was smiling secretly. Hee, I'm thinking of another group. Empty explained with a light smile. He had just used his divine sense to quietly scout around and found many funny things. Schwer, they're looking for us, Empty added. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Oh, they're still alive? Lung Ruoxue was a little surprised. Were these people cockroaches? They were quite inactive. Yes, but it won't last long. You'll know soon, Empty said with a smile. Damn it, you're actually hiding here. A sharp female voice sounded from behind them just as Empty finished speaking. Lung Ruoxue and the others couldn't help turning around, only to find 5 beggars standing behind them. Not only were their clothes tattered, but they were also covered in injuries, looking very disheveled. Who's this? Lung Ruoxue pretended to be puzzled with a smile on her beautiful face. TM Sun Meiting. Damn it, don't pretend not to know us. Hurry up and hand over what you found, Sun Meiting roared furiously. Damn, why were they not injured at all, and their clothes were spotless and clean, while they were covered in wounds and ragged clothes? It was really too unfair. Yeah. Do we know each other? What do you want us to hand over? Lung Ruoxue's face was full of curiosity. Of course it's the mission items you found. Hurry up and give it to us. Otherwise, we'll teach you a lesson, Sun Meiting threatened fiercely. Why should we give you what we found? Lung Ruoxue asked in return. She really couldn't understand this Miss Sun's thoughts. Did she really think they were pushovers? If not for you, why would we accept this lousy mission? It's all your fault, so be good and hand over the mission items you found. Otherwise, our Sun family won't let you go. Sun Meiting took it for granted that the woman in front of her had caused her to accept the mission. Therefore, she had to be responsible until the end. Miss Sun, are you an idiot? Did I ask you to take on a mission? Or do you think you still have the chance to leave after taking on this mission? The Sun family probably won't have the chance to stand up for you anymore. I think you should stay here obediently. Lung Ruoxue said speechlessly. Alas, she really didn't know what the brains of these young ladies from noble families were made of. Why were their thoughts different from ordinary people? Damn it, I won't stay in this damn place, Sun Meiting roared angrily. Unfortunately, she was ignored by Lung Ruoxue and the others. Mississippi. At this moment, a guard gently pulled Sun Meiting's sleeve and whispered. Chapter 756, Different Treatment, 1. What? Sun Meiting said irritably. Miss, don't anger them first. Let's clarify the mission and then follow behind them to do the mission. After we complete the mission and leave this place, won't these people be at Miss Mercy? The guard reminded softly. In fact, he saw that Lung Ruoxue and the others were dressed clean, so he suspected that they had a special method to avoid the poisonous creatures here, so he thought of this method. Yes, what you said makes sense, Sun Meiting praised. Then she said to Lung Ruoxue and the others, I don't want your things now. Just tell me the contents of the mission. Lung Ruoxue looked at Sun Meiting with interest and couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Alas, this Sun family was really arrogant. They obviously wanted to ask for help, but their tone was still so unyielding. Did they really think they owed them? Everyone, we came down in a hurry, so we forgot to ask about the mission content. I hope you can tell us. A guard had to lower his stance and beg when he saw that Lung Ruoxue and the others didn't react for a while. However, he knew that his young miss didn't care to do such a thing. Alright. The first mission is to gather 15 herbs at the bottom of Black Mist Cliff. The second mission is to crack in array formation. The location is also at the bottom of Black Mist Cliff. However, it will only appear after finding all the herbs. As for the third mission, I don't know either, Lung Ruoxue explained simply. Oh, thank you. May I know what the 15 herbs are? The guard asked very humbly. There are 10,000 root grass, snake-concealed flower, scorpion tail needle, Lung Ruoxue said with a light smile. These herbs were not common, and even alchemists might not know all of them. Therefore, she had already seen a big question mark on the faces of Sun Meiting and the others as expected. I hope Miss can tell us in detail, the guard said helplessly. Boo! What were these things? The 5 of them were puzzled. Told you in detail. Lung Ruoxue's face was full of innocence. Ah! The guard was depressed. They only knew the name of the herb, but they didn't even know if the herb was round or flat. How could they pick it up? Boo-hoo! Grandpa do, let's continue looking. This antidote pill only has 24 hours of efficacy. We have to hurry, Lung Ruoxue said to the others after resting for a while. Okay. The little old man and the others hurriedly stood up when they heard that. Sun Meiting and the others, who had just sat down and had yet to warm up, also hurriedly stood up. Continue resting. We've had enough, the little old man said with a smile. No need. We've had enough rest, the guard said hurriedly. What a joke. Where could they find these people if they continued resting? Boo! It was easy to find them. Just like that, Lung Ruoxue and the others walked in front while 5 tails followed behind them. Sun Meiting and the others followed Lung Ruoxue and the others wherever they went. Sun Meiting and the others also followed Lung Ruoxue and the others to pick herbs. In their opinion, whatever these people picked would definitely be needed for the mission. Unfortunately, wishes were beautiful, but reality was cruel. Lung Ruoxue and the others didn't care if it was a mission item. They would pluck anything that they felt was useful or might be useful in the future. Sun Meiting and the others would snatch it whenever they saw which herb they picked. However, what looked like it was not the same herb. Therefore, Sun Meiting and the others didn't realize that what they picked was useless. Aren't there only 15 types? Why did they pick so many? Sun Meiting, who was exhausted to death, couldn't help stopping and complaining. These people must have done it on purpose. They knew that they didn't know these herbs, but they picked so many. Miss, we have to follow quickly. Our mission won't be completed if we lose them, the guard reminded. Alas, they didn't know those herbs. Therefore, there was nothing they could do even if they plucked all the grass here. Oh no, why were those people surrounding each other? They would not be able to see what kind of herbs they were picking if they blocked them. The guard couldn't help being a little depressed when he saw Lung Ruoxue and the others forming a circle. However, he still thickened his skin and went forward, and he saw them picking a purple-red grass through the gap revealed in the middle of them. "Schwer, it's about time," the little old man said with a naughty smile after picking about half of the purple-red grass. "Yes, we can't pluck all of them. We have to leave some for others," Lung Ruoxue said very kindly. The 5 of them continued forward after speaking. Sun Meiting and the others swarmed forward and hurriedly plucked the purple grass when they saw Lung Ruoxue and the others leave. Suddenly, a scream sounded from someone's mouth. Immediately after, they heard the sound of fighting. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. "Schwer, looks like the battle is quite intense," Empty said with a smile as he listened to the banging sounds not far away. "Okay, let's go back and take a look," Lung Ruoxue said with a light smile. She couldn't lead the way for them for nothing. She had to collect some benefits. The benefits were naturally those poisonous creatures. After Lung Ruoxue and the others returned to the place where the purple grass grew, they saw a scorpion that had died lying on the ground. The scorpion was purple-red all over and was the size of a millstone. Sun Meiting and the others were sitting on the ground panting. After seeing the scorpion, little flame on Lung Ruoxue's wrist hurriedly crawled down from her hand and used its sharp teeth to bite open the poisonous gland on the scorpion's tail. It sucked it as if it was tasting delicious and even closed its eyes with a look of enjoyment. "Damn it, we killed that scorpion." Sun Meiting couldn't help roaring furiously when she saw a snake coming to share their spoils of war. She didn't want that ugly scorpion, but she couldn't let others take advantage of her. Unfortunately, Lung Ruoxue and the others ignored her words again. Chapter 757. Different Treatment 2. After Little Flame was full, it licked its little mouth, then glared at Sun Meiting in a show of force and crawled back to Lung Ruoxue's wrist. Then the few of them toured and left. "Damn it." Sun Meiting was so angry. "Miss, calm down. Now isn't the time to lose your temper. Let's follow quickly," the guard hurriedly coaxed. Alas, he didn't want this eldest miss to offend those people. After all, they had to rely on them below. "Okay." Sun Meiting nodded reluctantly. She might be willful, but she also knew that she couldn't do anything to Lung Ruoxue and the others here, so she had to bear with it no matter how angry she was. She would settle the score with those people after they went out. She calculated in her heart, and then the 5 of them immediately followed. However, Sun Meiting and the others were depressed the entire way because they were always attacked by poisonous creatures. For some reason, those poisonous creatures would always run out after Lung Ruoxue and the others harvested the same herbs even though everyone harvested the same herbs. It was really too despicable. What was even more infuriating was that the little red snake would come over to enjoy the fruits of their labor every time they exerted all their strength to kill the poisonous creatures. "Schwer, this is the last place," Empty said with a light smile as he looked at the radius of 50 kilometers in front of him. "Yes, we are still short of the last herb. I believe the second mission location will appear after we find it all." Lung Ruoxue's beautiful eyes swept the surrounding scenery. There was a deep pool here, and the water was so clear that the bottom could be seen. There were fish swimming in it from time to time. The fish were silver-white in color, and each of them was the size of an adult's 2 palms. They looked very fat and delicious, but Lung Ruoxue knew that these fish were also poisonous. However, it was precisely because they were poisonous that the taste was more delicious. "Master, I'm going to catch fish." Feng Wu looked at the fish in the pool. "Okay, let's continue after dinner." Lung Ruoxue brought everyone to a relatively safe place to sit down after speaking. Alas, they had searched for almost a day, and the first mission was finally about to be completed. In order to complete the mission early, they didn't even have time to eat lunch, and they had to eat well for dinner. Before long, Feng Wu had caught more than a dozen fat fish, and Lung Ruoxue and the others had started a fire. They prepared a pot, took out a few pieces of raw meat, and planned to grill them together. Sun Meiting and the others arrived at the last place at the bottom of the cliff in an extremely sorry state. They were so angry that they were about to explode when they saw Lung Ruoxue and the others already starting a fire and cooking. Damn. They were working tirelessly behind, but these people were preparing to eat. Who allowed you to eat? You haven't found all the herbs yet. Sun Meiting roared angrily. Of course we have to eat if we're hungry. Otherwise, how can we have the stamina to deal with those poisonous creatures later? Lung Ruoxue reminded very kindly. There's more? Sun Meiting said gloomily. They had already killed many along the way and were bitten many times. However, they showed no signs of being poisoned, and she attributed all this to the antidote pill they had eaten before descending the cliff. Of course there are. Don't tell me you think only the poisonous creatures you killed are down this cliff. Lung Ruoxue asked with a naughty smile. Alas. The poisonous creatures had already begun to become restless after Sun Meiting, and the others plucked all the food from the poisonous creatures. However, they still had concerns, so they didn't dare to attack in full force. This was also letting Sun Meiting and the others off easy. Otherwise, how could they have walked here alive? Miss, I'm going to catch fish too. The guard didn't dare to not believe Lung Ruoxue's words, so he volunteered. Okay. Sun Meiting was also afraid that a poisonous substance would run out to cause trouble for them, so she agreed without thinking. Seeing that Sun Meiting agreed, the guard led the other guard to catch fish like Feng Wu. However, before they could catch the fish, they were bitten by the fish as food. The two of them were extraordinarily depressed, looking at their fingers that were gradually turning black. Boo! Why was this? They were bitten by poisonous creatures while picking herbs, and the fish was bitten again. Why was nothing happening to them? Heaven was so unfair. However, what they didn't expect was that the matter of making them vomit blood was yet to come. Lung Ruoxue and the others had already begun picking herbs when Sun Meiting and the others were done preparing the food. Miss, let's eat quickly. Our mission won't be completed if they pluck all the herbs. The guard reminded her with a petty heart as he looked at the 5 people picking herbs not far away. At this moment, he only wanted to complete the mission quickly and had long forgotten that Lung Ruoxue and the others would not pluck all the herbs at all. What are you afraid of? Well, snatch them if we can't. Can't we deal with them with our strength? Sun Meiting said nonchalantly. Don't blame me for being merciless if these people don't leave them alone. Miss, the mission isn't completed yet, so they can't die, the guard reminded. The bottom of the cliff might seem calm, but he could already feel that the things hiding in the dark had not really appeared yet. If Lung Ruoxue and the others were alive, they could help them block the danger at the critical moment. More importantly, these people seemed to be very confident in the mission, so it was even more impossible to let them die first. Yes, I know. Sun Meiting was not stupid. She knew that before leaving this place, she could not touch Lung Ruoxue and the others no matter how much she hated them. Boo! They knew nothing about missions. They would not be able to leave this place without Lung Ruoxue. The freak who was picking herbs said helplessly as he looked at the malicious gaze not far away, "Swear, they're playing dirty again." Yes, I know, however, well, let them go on the account that they can lure Little Flame's food out. Lung Ruoxue said with a light smile. They were using each other anyway, so she didn't care what bad intentions Sun Meiting and the others thought. Yes. Little Flame nodded vigorously in agreement after hearing Lung Ruoxue's words. Lass, it's about time. Leave the rest for them. The little old man blinked and said kindly. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Chapter 758 Different Treatment 3. Yes, Miss Sunday, we're done picking. The rest is for you. Lung Ruoxue brought everyone to rest after speaking. At least you know your place, Sun Meiting said proudly. Then she led her subordinates to pluck the grass in a hurry. A moment later, everyone present heard a loud bang. Then the ground under their feet began to split apart, and countless giant scorpions, giant ants, and spiders surged up from the ground. Each of them was several times larger than the one Sun Meiting and the others killed previously. At the same time, countless snakes crawled over from all directions and surrounded them. Damn it, where did these things come from? Sun Meiting said with a tingling scalp. She hated these disgusting things the most, but the number of things in front of her was unimaginable. Miss, let's not act rashly. The 5 of us alone can't deal with these poisonous creatures, the guard reminded very implicitly. What he implied was that he wanted to join forces with Lung Ruoxue and the others. I know. Sun Meiting raised her eyes and looked in Lung Ruoxue's direction. However, it was fine if she didn't look. She almost vomited blood when she saw it. Damn, what was going on? Why were there so many poisonous creatures around them while they only had 2 or 3 kittens? Damn it, why don't you surround them? Sun Meiting couldn't help but fly into a rage out of humiliation and roar at the poisonous creatures surrounding her. However, when those poisonous creatures heard Sun Meiting's words, their small eyes revealed looks as if they were looking at an idiot, and they couldn't help but grumble in their hearts. Damn, do you think we're as stupid as you? Those people were not made of tofu. They could afford to offend them. Moreover, before coming, Boss had instructed that no matter who they provoked, they couldn't provoke that little red snake. Otherwise, they would bear the consequences themselves. Miss, calm down, the guard said with a headache. He couldn't help cursing in his heart. What a pig brain. He still wanted to offend her at this time. Calm down my ass. Isn't this bullying? Sun Meiting roared irrationally. With that, she wanted to rush in the direction of Lung Ruoxue and the others. However, before she could run, she was bitten by the giant poisonous scorpion closest to her several times. Damn it. Sun Meiting was angry. She waved the soft whip in her hand and injected mystic energy into it, attacking the scorpion that bit her. Pa! The weak scorpion died before it could retaliate. The poisonous creatures were angry when they saw their companions being killed in front of them. Ayo! Ayo! After a few howls, the poisonous creatures waved their giant claws that made cracking sounds and attacked Sun Meiting and the others. There were many poisonous creatures, but their strength was not high. They were basically not at the level of a transcendent divine beast. Therefore, Sun Meiting and the others were almost one at a time. Soon, the number of poisonous creatures decreased by 1/3. At this moment, Little Flame climbed down from Lung Ruoxue's wrist matter-of-factly and dashed to the battlefield to absorb the poisonous glands of the dead poisonous creatures without working. Xiaohua was absorbing happily, but Sun Meiting and the others were so tired that they vomited blood. The depression in their hearts was indescribable when they saw Lung Ruoxue and the others standing by the side watching the commotion. They really wanted to faint if possible. Unfortunately, they didn't dare to. If they really fainted, they would probably become food for these poisonous creatures in the next second. Schwer, when should we attack? Empty looked at the battle situation and asked. Wait a while more. The largest one isn't out yet. Lung Ruoxue reminded with a light smile. Well, they had to conserve their energy. It would be impossible to count on Sun Meiting and the others for the largest ones. Okay, let's watch the commotion then. Empty said with a smile. Then he turned his gaze to the center of the battle and also glanced at the few scorpions surrounding them. The scorpions shrank their heads after sensing Empty's gaze and tried their best to reduce their presence. Ooh, these people were really too deceiving. They looked like small shrimps, but they were true great white sharks in their bones. They couldn't afford to offend them. They couldn't afford to offend them. With this in mind, the scorpions looked at each other and quietly slipped away. Woman in back. After some time, Little Flame, which was full, returned to Lung Ruoxue's side from the battlefield. At this moment, Sun Meiting and the others had also eliminated all the poisonous little minions. They were sitting on the ground, panting heavily from exhaustion. Yes, are you full? Lung Ruoxue looked at Little Fire's deflated belly doubtfully and asked curiously. No. I've already digested the venom, Little Flame said proudly. A slightly cold voice immediately sounded in its ears just as it finished speaking. Human, how dare you kill our subordinates? You're dead meat. The one who spoke was a snake covered in black and covered in poisonous gas. This snake was nearly 100 meters in length and about 10 meters in width. Moreover, its gaze was cold and fierce. At this moment, It was staring at Sun Meiting and the others tightly. Not only that, but this snake was also a level 7 transcendent divine beast. On both sides of this snake were 2 huge black scorpions and spiders that were like small mountains. They were level 5 and level 6 transcendent divine beasts. There were many transcendent divine beasts behind them, but almost all were around level 2 or 3. Damn it, are you blind? They have a share too. Why are you only looking for us? The scarred Sun Mating couldn't bear it anymore and roared at the snake, planning to drag Lung Ruoxue and the others into the water. Them? They didn't kill my subordinates. You killed them all. The cold snake's eyes rolled between Lung Ruoxue and Sun Mating. Then the huge snake said, and at the same time, it pouted in its heart. Who didn't know that persimmons had to be pinched by the weak? It wanted to find trouble with the other 5, but it could not afford to. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. In fact, they also treated Lung Ruoxue and the others as food when they first descended to the bottom of the cliff. However, after careful discussion, they unanimously believed that those people could not be provoked, not because they saw the true strength of Lung Ruoxue and the others, but because of an animal's intuition and instinct. Chapter 759 Different Treatment for You. The snake's words almost made Sun Meiting faint. This was too much of a bully. She, who had always been arrogant, never dreamed that she would one day receive such unfair treatment. Moreover, it was the beast she hated the most. How could the proud her bear this? Damn it, you beasts, do you know who I am? I'm the miss of the Sun family. How dare you treat me like this? I won't let you go. Sun Meiting roared with a face full of anger. She was so angry that she even forgot that no matter how noble her status was, it was impossible for these poisonous creatures who had lived at the bottom of the cliff to recognize her. The Sun family? I've never heard of them. Sure enough, the poisonous creatures led by the giant snake blinked in confusion, their faces full of question marks. Big brother, it seems like she wants to use her identity to pressure us. Let's not talk nonsense with her. Hurry up and attack. The scorpion beside the giant snake said impatiently. Okay, avenge our subordinates. Go. The giant snake ordered, and the poisonous creatures beside it swarmed forward. As the poisonous creatures ran, the bottom of the cliff immediately became poisonous fog. In a few seconds, the scarred Sun Meiting and the others disappeared. They didn't even have the time to ask for help. After a while, the poisonous fog dissipated, and Lung Ruoxue and the others could clearly see the poisonous creatures led by the giant snake surrounding them. What? It's our turn now? Lung Ruoxue's beautiful eyes gently glanced at the giant snake and said with a spurious smile. Misunderstanding. You're mistaken. The giant snake was stunned and then hurriedly tried to curry favor. Why else are you surrounding us? Lung Ruoxue asked in puzzlement. Then she raised a slender jade hand, and a small flame danced on her tender white fingertips. What a misunderstanding! Cold sweat rolled down the giant snake's body. Boo! The flame gave it so much pressure. It would probably be lying on the ground if it didn't forcefully hold on. Oh, Lung Ruoxue answered lightly and then fell silent. Didn't you already complete the first mission? I'm here to tell you the second mission location, the giant snake explained, its little heart trembling nonstop. Do you want to check my mission items? Lung Ruoxue raised her eyebrows slightly and asked calmly. No, there's no need. I believe in your credit, the giant snake said hurriedly. Boo! Those herbs were all their favorite food. However, they were all gone. Ha! Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but laugh after hearing what the giant snake said. The poisonous thing that even killed the mission person actually said that it believed her. Wasn't this very ridiculous? What are you laughing about? The giant snake asked in puzzlement. It knew that these humans were not afraid of it, but there was no need to laugh so happily. Little snake, our little fire is very interested in the poison in your bodies. Lung Ruoxue ignored the giant snake's question and looked at the poisonous thing's sneaking glances at her like a little wife in front of her with a light smile. What do you mean? The giant snake's brain couldn't keep up, and it couldn't help asking foolishly. Give me the poison in your bodies, Lung Ruoxue said bluntly. How can that be? The giant scorpion interrupted before the snake could answer. I'll give you two choices. One is to do it willingly, and the other is to do it ourselves, Empty said with a light smile. Can I choose the third one? The giant snake lowered its head and asked softly, but it couldn't help crying and cursing in its heart. Boo! This group of bandits. It was easy for them to accumulate some poison. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Little snakes, you don't have a third choice, and I don't want much. Just give half of the poison in your bodies to my little fire, Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Well, look at how kind she was. If it were others, they would probably have killed these poisonous creatures long ago. However, these poisonous beasts didn't attack them, so of course she wouldn't kill them herself. Boo! A beast with a master is a treasure. A beast without a master is like a blade of grass. The huge snake couldn't help but grumble in its heart. Then it raised its head and secretly looked at the little red snake that was not even as thick as an adult's finger, feeling abnormally depressed. It was obviously a little fellow more poisonous than them, but it still wanted to rob them. It was too much. You don't have to be reluctant. I can also share a little of the poison with you as an exchange. However, I'm afraid not many of you can bear my poison, Little Flame, which was coiled around Lung Ruoxue's wrist, said. I know. You can only give us 5. Forget the others, the giant snake said impatiently. Hee, it would be very beneficial to their strength if they could obtain this little red snake's poison. It couldn't even ask for such a good thing, so of course it was willing. Okay. Little Flame nodded and was about to open its little mouth to bite the giant snake, but Lung Ruoxue stopped it. Wait, little snake, tell us the location of the next mission first, Lung Ruoxue said hurriedly. Well, she didn't know if this snake could withstand Little Fire's poison, but who would tell them the location if Little Fire fainted from the poison? The second mission is under the pool, the giant snake said and then motioned for Little Flame to begin. Little Flame nodded, and then bit the giant snake's poison sac. After absorbing almost half of the venom, it injected another drop of its poison into the giant snake's body and did the same to the other 4 poisonous beasts. As for the others, it only absorbed half of their poison. After a long time. After absorbing the toxins, Little Flame crawled unsteadily back to Lung Ruoxue's wrist. Then it looked up at her and said, Woman, I'm going to advance. Advance? Lung Ruoxue said in surprise. It usually didn't see how Little Flame cultivated, so why did it advance just like that? Immediately. Little Flame transformed into a red light and ran to a spacious place to prepare to advance after speaking. Before long, the heaven-earth laws descended into the abyss. After advancing, Little Flame crawled back onto Lung Ruoxue's wrist proudly. Lung Ruoxue held Little Flame in her hand and observed it carefully. Why didn't this little flame grow up at all after advancing? Instead, it became smaller and smaller. Moreover, its body became more and more translucent, beautiful and dazzling. Chapter 760 Advanced Antidote Pill 1. Hee. Woman, I'm even more beautiful. Little Flame said proudly. This was the first time it advanced since birth. Little Flame, what's your current strength? Lung Ruoxue asked curiously. There really wasn't much difference apart from becoming more beautiful after this Little Flame advanced. Strength? What do you need strength for? Little Flame blinked its ruby-like beautiful eyes, its face full of question marks. Pretend I didn't ask, Lung Ruoxue said gloomily. Woman, just want poison, Little Flame said with a face full of pride. Then it looked at the 5 big poisonous creatures who were dozing off and pondered in secret. Well, if they bit it after advancing, these poisonous creatures would probably have died long ago. Oh, let's go to the pool to complete the second mission. Lung Ruoxue said to the freak and the others, seeing that Little Flame's matter was resolved. Okay. Everyone nodded and then walked toward the pool. Lung Ruoxue and the others watched carefully by the pool, looking for the entrance. Master, I think something is amiss there, Feng Wu said after observing it with the unique secret technique of the Phoenix clan. Lung Ruoxue looked in the direction Feng Wu was pointing. The bottom of the pool was covered with rocks, and the two pieces Feng Wu chose seemed to be slightly different in color. However, they would not be discovered at all if she didn't look carefully. At this point, she sent a stream of mystic power to hit the two rocks. In an instant, the pool sank, and a secret room was exposed in front of them. Schwer, should we go down? Empty looked at the pitch-black secret room and asked. Yes. Lung Ruoxue nodded. Master, I'll go down first. Feng Wu said and then ignited her vital flame. This way, they wouldn't be hurt even if there was any danger down there. Feng Wu led the way up the stairs, Lung Ruoxue and the others following closely behind. The door of the secret room closed as soon as they entered. Schwer, looks like we can forget about leaving this place if we can't break through the array. Empty teased with a light smile as he looked at the closed door of the secret chamber. Yes. Lung Ruoxue nodded and then looked at the secret room in front of her. The walls of this secret room were embedded with night pearls, illuminating the secret room as if it was daytime. The entire secret room was not big, and there were no items for missions inside. There was an array formation on one of the walls of the secret room. Well, this should be the exit. Lung Ruoxue and the others came to the wall covered with array formations and observed. Lass, I know nothing about array formations. I can only rely on you, the little old man said helplessly. In fact, array formations were not prevalent on the boundless heaven continent. Therefore, very few people specially studied them. Therefore, array formations had almost been lost long ago. Lung Ruoxue nodded and looked at the array formation in front of her. Well, this array formation was a little familiar. She should have seen it in the array formation collection left behind by her master. What was its name again? Lung Ruoxue searched her memory. She remembered that this array formation was called the illusionary array. It was an array formation that combined reality and illusion. Moreover, if she remembered correctly, this array formation should be an advanced array formation. Not many people could set it up. She didn't expect to see it here. However, this array should only be considered a simple illusionary array. Schwer, is this array easy to break? Empty asked curiously. Ooh. He was also an array formation idiot. However, he knew that Schwer had specially studied it. Therefore, he was not very worried that they would be trapped here. It's not difficult as long as we find the array core, Lung Ruoxue said and then carefully searched the array formation. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. The freak and the others naturally didn't dare to disturb Lung Ruoxue when they saw that her thoughts were on the array formation. After more than 10 minutes, Lung Ruoxue finally discovered the abnormality and said happily to everyone, "Found it, it's here." Ah. Everyone immediately looked over, but they didn't find anything different from the places Schwer mentioned. Take a closer look. There is spiritual energy flowing on the array formation, and the direction and speed of spiritual energy flowing here are slightly different from other places. So I'm sure this is the eye of the array formation, Lung Ruoxue said confidently. With that, she released a stream of mystic power to strike the location of the array formation. Immediately, the array formation on the wall disappeared, and the exit was revealed in front of everyone. This array doesn't look that difficult, the little old man said in puzzlement. Grandpa do. This array is called the illusionary array. However, it can only be considered simple. The true illusionary array's eyes are not so easy to find, so we picked up a bargain. Lung Ruoxue explained with a light smile. Oh, no wonder. However, no matter what, the second mission is finally completed. Let's leave this place quickly, the little old man urged. It felt gloomy here, and he didn't want to stay any longer. Okay, let's go. Lung Ruoxue nodded, and then everyone left. After the array formation of the secret chamber was unlocked, Hong Ying, who was in the hall at the back of Black Mist Cliff, immediately sensed it. Lung Ruoxue and the others have unlocked the array formation. Hong Ying looked at the other three people. Really? The three of them hurriedly stood up in surprise. Okay. Hong Ying nodded. That array formation might only be a simple illusionary array, but there were almost no people in this world who could unlock it. Thinking of this, he couldn't help paying more attention to Lung Ruoxue and the others. Alas, he didn't know if they could complete the last mission. The last mission, Baishi hesitated, but the other three understood what she meant. Don't worry. My intuition tells me that they can definitely do it, Xiaofan said. In fact, he was not too confident. Go do what you have to do. The last mission will probably take a long time, Hong Ying said. Then he was the first to get up and leave the hall. At the same time, Lung Ruoxue and the others found themselves in another secret room after coming out of the exit. This secret room was very spacious. There was a table and 5 chairs in it, as if they were specially prepared for them. Moreover, the spiritual energy in the secret room was very abundant. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.